and mine, and it was your heart on the line.
Okay. I guess
Omar, do you need to do anything for you here, like in terms of
No.
Mark, no, we're all good with like
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm drinking coffee, but you have to read this.
Right, right.
roll call or anything?
And then do we need to do roll call?
No.
No. Okay.
No, not for budget hearing.
Okay.
But you have to open public meeting, public, comments.
What did you say?
Public comments are first.
First, right, I'm gonna follow this.
Yeah. So it's recording, so, okay, so.
Oh, yeah, if you need me to do anything, like in terms of clerk and stuff, let me know.
Okay, yeah, no, we're
No,
good.
we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
It's a job.
I'm right. Doesn't be.
It's good, but maybe they should like figure out a different bin. It was full of garbage, yeah. Morning.
Good morning, Lauren.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Like, get kids ready for a bat mitzvah, and basketball.
Relax. Just relax,
All right, good thing. But otherwise, all good.
Good.
It's a busy morning.
So this, I don't mind saying while we're live, it was very cool. The HPC met Thursday night
Good.
up at Davis Johnson,
Very nice.
Yeah.
and there's a room in there. This is important for the library. There's a room in there that's half the size of this that's filled with incredible historic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible.
Why don't we bring some of it down to Borough Hall?
I don't even want to touch half of it.
I mean, I've been collecting
No, but we
stuff and
should.
putting it up.
It includes, we used to have a dairy farm in
Yeah.
Tenafly. It includes the milk bottles from that dairy farm. It includes old farm implements, hand sickles and things like that. It includes documents, but the most amazing is between 1900 and 1910, there was a photographer who was living in a house, renting space on Valley Place, which is behind the funeral home.
Right.
Never identified who the photographer was. His name is not known, but all of his negatives, which are about this size, are on glass plates. They're the old glass plates negatives, and they've been put into a book. Someone did print it. And these negatives are probably priceless, number one. Number two, they're gorgeous. I mean, the pictures of historic Tenafly from 1900.
You gotta bring some more over
When
anything.
we were there for the 125th to make this,
Right.
everything is under heat and moisture. It has to get out
Yeah?
of there.
Okay, we're gonna take it out.
We have it better temperature controlled now, a little
Could we fix the
Oh, yeah.
door before the door was broken?
Yeah.
But,
But
I mean,
otherwise,
it has to get out of there.
Yeah.
it's amazing. And most of it's been cataloged. It's not as if it's not. They did hire a historian, custodian of records years ago to maintain it
Bill, I know.
and catalog everything.
What's everyone doing this morning?
I know, it's kind of like.
I don't know, would that be,
It's a beautiful day.
Fantastic being here.
is that something that the library would want to have access to?
I don't know that we can. Mayor, no matter what, we should clean that room up.
Yes, we've gotta take a look at that. We gotta, I've been slowly people have been calling me with stuff, and stuff out there.
I think
bring it down.
HPC could take care
That
of
it
it.
hangs on the
But I
wall,
mean, for
then it sits in the
display
closet.
purposes.
I guess I'll
This
go
is-
this way,
this is-
right? There's only
But I
6
mean,
of us,
that's part
other
of
than
the problem, it's so voluminous,
Right,
kind of like,
right.
Yoga in the morning.
Yep.
I know this is weird, but I sent you an invite for M.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
I'm trying to figure out.
It says you didn't open the invite, I just wanna make sure you got it.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Not so if you don't come to the boring service of religion, but I just wanna make sure you knew that you.
Right, oh, thank
So
you.
you don't think farm
I'm not sure
implements
for
and
what
milk
you need.
I
bottles?
did.
Oh, okay.
But he knows,
I got that.
he-
I'm
yeah,
checking
maybe,
out
but I forgot
the
what time
schedules.
you were traveling.
With the ceremony, and not until the.
I know,
Julie
So,
and Dan are coming, you haven't heard otherwise, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has anyone heard otherwise about Julie or Dan? No? Okay.
$75,000 a year, including $75,000 this year.
The last 2 roads.
Has anybody
Yep,
gone
the
out
last
to
2
look
roads
if
are the new
there
ones.
are,
There's
Citizen's been on for 5 years. Anyone lives in
We
Citizen?
have time between now and
Julie, what
and
road are
April
you?
Yeah.
to
I'm
look
at
into
the
this.
Browning House.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. We're fighting for
Adam,
this
it
morning.
came on.
Adam's online?
He's trying to get Sisson Terrace.
Hey, Adam, can you hear us?
Because it's.
I don't know.
Yep, I hear you. Good morning.
How you doing?
I mean, that's where we get our equipment from, whether it's 3M or
Okay.
what, but.
Updated roads list from Andy.
Oh, thank you.
Julie, I know, I think you're up first, though.
All right, everyone, it's 9 o'clock, everyone ready?
Hold on, my.
Well, I'm very happy.
All right, we're gonna get started, everyone. Good morning, thanks for being here today, first budget hearing. Everyone have enough chairs?
Julie,
Adam's away.
Adam.
Adam's
and-
online.
and Gavin.
Morning, Adam.
Okay,
Morning.
I've got to read the Open Public Meetings Act. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are listed in the annual agenda. Copies are sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press and posted on the lobby, on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. The notice of this special budget meeting, resolution number 23-99, has been sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley News, has been posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and the Borough website. Okay, we've got a total of 15 minutes have been allocated for public comment, which we're going to do now. And citizens are welcome to address the mayor and council on any governmental item of concern to them, whether or not it is scheduled on the agenda today. Citizens must give their names and addresses when recognized to speak. Large groups are urged to select someone to represent them. The public is advised that these meetings are recorded and are subject to the Open Public Records Act. So before we start with the library, is there anyone here who wants to make a public comment on any topic whatsoever? No? Okay. Doesn't look like there's anyone, right? All right, so we'll go right into the library.
I'm sorry. If you wouldn't mind, I know Susan prepared like an overview memo. Do you
Right.
want-
Well, that's the first thing I was going to say is asking for Susan's comments
Okay, there you go.
about in terms of what do you want to do?
Budget, to introduce the budget to the public.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was very pleased with the outcome of this budget. We still have some tweaking to do. There's a process. This is the first meeting of many. Overall, we had many challenges, mainly with our healthcare premiums. They went up significantly, 20-something%. And we did bond this year, which offset the cost of that, because our principal payments with our maturity schedule went down. However, we still have challenges before us, waste management, hauling of our garbage, and things like that. So overall, the budget is good. We may need some help with cuts, such as our capital plan, because we may have to defer some projects to keep the budget down, so that our tax increase this year can remain, feasible to our taxpayers. So with inflation and supply and demand issues and the cost of all of the supplies going up, it's been a very challenging past couple of years, especially due to the pandemic. This is the runoff from all of the issues related to the pandemic.
Okay. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
So let's start with the library.
Well, it's kind of hard to follow sad news for the toy, but that was how I was planning to start. Everyone thinks we're boring at the library, so I just wanted to show you what we're up to. This guy is circulating now. This is one of our STEM kits that we're circulating. These are robots that you can check out, build at home. It comes with a book called Robot Safari, and you can actually build the characters in the book. So I just wanted to show you an example of our STEM kits because they're really popular. In fact, every year in the last Saturday of March, we have our annual Makers Day. And we opened up registration this past Monday at 9 a.m. and, this thing sold out like a Lady Gaga concert by 10 a.m. It was completely booked, and, parents were calling, we had to open up extra sessions. So, our STEM programs are doing really well, but the kids are still reading. In fact, people in Tenafly still read actual books. Our circulation of children's books in 2022 it's actually 8% higher than in 2019, which was the last year before the pandemic. In fact, my daughter goes to Malm Elementary School, and she has these play dates. And, you know, I go to their houses, and you walk into the bedrooms, and these kids have walls of bookshelves, every book you can imagine they own. But they still come to the library and check out stacks of books. I cannot believe the books that kids in Tenafly are reading. They are great readers. And then we have the teens. As you may have heard, the teens in Tenafly after school hang out all over Tenafly, but we do have a good amount in the library. And one of our goals for this year, it's been our goal for a long time, but we really want to focus on redesigning the teen area. And what happens after school, if we have 50 kids in the library, and I know that doesn't sound like a lot, especially, you know, if you're a teacher, you probably 50 kids doesn't sound like much to you, but when you're in a big space with vaulted ceilings, that's a lot of noise.
Sounds scary.
Mhm. And they're not really doing anything bad. In fact, most of them are actually doing their homework, but the adults don't see it that way. It's very noisy. So we want them to feel welcome. And our teen services librarian lives here in Tenafly, and she has a son at Tenafly High School. Now, her son will not be caught dead in the library because his mother works there. But she has spent a lot of time talking to the kids, finding out what they like to see in this area. I'm trying to find out how to keep the adults happy, what kind of sound blocking materials we could put in to kind of deal with the noise problem. Obviously, we can't create new rooms, but we want to really mitigate the after-school noise issue. So,
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So my daughters are elementary and middle, so we use it exactly as you're describing.
Mm-hmm.
My little one goes home with this stack, and my big one does some homework sometimes. There's a room, so when you go in, you know, like the adults, there's a blue room.
Yes.
What is that used for?
That is our quiet room, and that's where we're supposed to send the adults who want quiet. But the problem is that, first of all, it's our only room that's used for programs. We try not to schedule programs at that time, but sometimes there's no way around it. And also, it's not really that quiet because the kids, they take over everywhere. So what we're trying to do is have the space for them so that they don't, what we want to do is divide the library into kind of like the noisier side and the adult side that's quiet.
Active listening, active learning.
Thank you. Active learning.
I'll brand it, active
Thank
learning.
you. So that way, that quiet room stays quiet and the kids are not in the tables outside of it.
Yeah, I was going to suggest actually putting the kids in that room and
We've
like
done
building
that.
that room as like more lounge and computer tables and places to do homework and sort of mix and mingle a little.
We've done
I
that.
feel like then you could kind of corner it off.
The problem is that the children's room is on the other side. So now, normally you want to keep the teens away from the kids' room because the teens don't want to be next to the kids.
Right.
But then you have the noise from the children's room because the children's room is always packed with kids. So, yes. So now you really have noise coming from both areas. So we're trying to,
Sorry, we're getting Dan Park. So my question is, are you budgeting like a internal renovation right now? I guess that's where I was going. So
That's
what do you,
where-
and,
we're-
you know, that's a goal, but what are you
Mhm.
doing with the budget? Like,
The that would be our capital budget.
that's your capital,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And I see you're not looking for anything above what's funded.
Yes, we would
Okay.
not be asking, you know, we would not be coming to you for money for that.
Okay,
So,
that'd be exciting then.
can I just take this,
Go ahead, Jeff.
take this back a step? So you said, you said there are up to 50 teens in there, which, by the way, don't sit there and think that's a low number. I think that's an incredibly high number of teens, and I know how much noise that can generate. So I guess the problem really becomes creating a space that it can accommodate, and they're not all, I'm sure, working on the same thing.
No, not at all.
You probably have 20 groups of whatever, or at least, 10 groups of 5 under the best. So I guess, do you have enough space to, if you divide it, to have that work? Because I know that room, like
Okay.
Councilmember Dayton was talking about, I don't think that room could accommodate.
No,
Even
that
close.
would not be
Right.
the area.
So I'm trying to picture, because I think that's a fantastic idea, and I think it's necessary to do. I'm just trying to picture where in the library you're talking about, so maybe you can help me.
We have, so if you walk into the library, and let's say you're facing the art gallery, which is another space that people use, and it's kind of a neutral space, because you can't keep that quiet, it's too big. So if you look to your left,
The reference area?
what used to be the reference area
Yeah.
is now an open space.
Right.
And that's the area that we would convert to the teen area. And we still have, not all the kids are, some of the kids actually want quiet, so they wouldn't all be there. And then we would also separate the computers, because we have a problem. Some of the adults who come to use the computers are actually the source of our behavior problem more than the kids. And actually, for the even for the protection of the kids, we would like to separate the computers and move the kids' computers in a different spot. So
I don't even want to know what the source of the problem.
What do you mean, protecting the kids?
I know, I don't mean safety-wise, I mean that they're nasty, they talk to the kids, but they're not reasonable people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mean to say that they're threatening the kids, I just mean to say that, they're annoying and, unreasonable.
I have a follow-up. So we've been working on the teen center, which is right next door. And the teen center has a homework room, and one of the things that we've done over the past few years is added in the laptop cart so that kids can go and do homework in a designated homework room over there. Are you able to send any of your kids that direction to help alleviate?
Yes, we have laptops that we can give out to the kids, and kids who are looking for quiet study, we can give them laptops and send them into the quiet room.
Okay.
So-
Then the loud ones to the teen center.
Well, that's the thing. I think there are a lot of kids in the teen center, and I think we're just getting their overflow. I don't think, I've gone in there a few times because of they leave their backpacks in the library and stuff like that, and they do seem pretty crowded there, too.
I mean, I just think that there should be, especially for the teen age, since we're talking about the teenage, there should be like a good communication between that center, which is right there, which has more noise and active, and still does have a homework room, and then maybe that can alleviate some of the issues that you're seeing, and I get it. I'm thrilled the teen center is packed, because we've been working on that for a couple years. So I'm just saying that's always an option, but,
Yeah.
Maybe the kids don't know there's a homework room over there.
Yeah, I think that we're getting the overflow. I mean, they're packed, the downtown is packed.
Yes.
And the kids are really everywhere. We're just, again, I think that the teen center is well used. They're just at the library too.
Good
Can I
thing.
just add in?
Go ahead.
My son's a senior now, and I remember the first year he was allowed into the teen center. I can't remember what age that is now, and it was like, oh, that's so cool, that's so cool. And once you're in, like, nobody wants to hang out in the teen center with the little kids, so that after a year or two, that becomes uncool to be in the teen center. And so that's when they really gravitate to the library, I think.
Yeah, historically, it's become more of a middle school
Yeah.
center. And once you're in high school, you're too big and cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And what else can I ask? I know you have more of a narrative. I didn't mean to start asking questions. Do you want to continue your narrative?
Yeah, well then, for the adults, the big thing is technology help. We have technology, tech librarian who's very popular. In fact, he lives in Tenafly, and he can't, like, walk down the street without someone asking for help with their phone.
Our own Mr. Nice.
He probably wants a disguise for when he's around town, but anyway, so that's, his sessions are books a lot. And then we have our wonderful Tenafly library friends, many of whom are here, so thank you for coming. They volunteer their time to book lots of wonderful programs. Their concerts are very popular. Some of them, in fact, most of them are standing room only. And people even bring their kids to listen to classical music and jazz, and I think that's really, really nice. And, you know, our board also, a lot of them are also work with the Friends, and they're volunteering their time and their talent to run the library. Again, Tenafly residents who really, really personally care about the library. And they've done such a great job making it the cultural center of town. And that's really all I have.
So I have a question.
Go ahead, Lauren, with the question. Then let's talk about money a little bit.
That's exactly where I'm going. So, the budget is 1,673,661, which is the designated state requirement.
Mm-hmm.
The budget's coming in under that, which is good. The budget that I'm looking at here, expenses, salaries, everything. Do you know how much, I mean, it's about $100,000 difference, $130,000.
Well, her budget, the library's budget went up like over $100,000, because that's what the allotment is for Julie's area by the state.
Okay. And then, how much money do they have in surplus?
So every year, whatever the library does not spend, is raised through taxation, we allocate back to the library. So far, I think we've given you maybe close to $800,000 in funds every year since the beginning. Probably around $799, something like that. So they have to get.
I don't think it's that high.
No, I think it's close to that. I have it in my office. I could go check, but it's been about, I think, around over $700,000. We've been giving it to them since 2017. So that was the first year.
And that's also very typical. Like Cresskill is having a major renovation done right now. And the reason why they're able to do that is for that very reason. The money that they didn't spend, they put in their capital budget. And now they're renovating their library. You know, they're moving out for a year. Yeah. And they're doing a complete renovation with the money that they put in their capital budget. And, you know, that's not unusual.
I know we went for a grant, which was incredibly competitive, first year ever. They had a library grant. Are you intending to go again for that grant?
No, that grant was only offered
1 year?
It was offered
That's a shame.
2 years. It was actually a vote it was back in 2017, New Jersey voters voted for that grant to be offered to New Jersey libraries, and it was offered in 2 rounds. And we did not get the grant, but that was it.
Well, I thought it was going to be an ongoing. That's
No.
interesting. Any other grant opportunities that you can look for or that we know of?
Certainly for construction grants, I mean, if another one were to come around, I would definitely apply for that. I mean, no doubt.
Something,
Of course.
Millennium to keep an eye out on.
Yeah.
We have a grant writer now.
Mm-hmm.
Mary, you had a question?
Where are we on the roof?
Yeah.
Well, what happened was...
Get right to the heart of it.
Susan had asked for me to asked the board for a 50% contribution, and I asked for something in writing because she said it would be $500,000. And Andy Hippolyte just yesterday sent in an estimate, and so obviously I couldn't present it to the board because he just sent it in yesterday. And his estimate, you know how the board had requested the scope of the project?
Right.
And, you know, and Jimmy had sent in the proposal from 2021 with that it would be the same scope, but Andy's proposal is a little bit different. He only mentions the asphalt shingle roof, whereas the 2021 proposal also mentions the flat roof, and so I'm not really sure if we're comparing apples to apples. So, you know, that's something that I haven't presented it to the board because I just got it yesterday.
Oh, that's reasonable, of
What
course.
was the total cost?
So,
500,000.
For the total cost for the asphalt?
no,
Yes,
let's just
but
call
I
it,
don't
let's just
know.
call it, let's refer to it as the roof, rather than getting, because
Got it.
Julie's raised a question that we can't answer here, so
Mhm.
that's the estimate for the roof, and I think, Jimmy, we've got to get
Yeah, of course.
clarification for Julie.
And
or-
is it the T-shaped roof or the T-shaped and the L-shaped? Like, there's just, it's very vague.
Yeah, so you and I could coordinate if it's all right to have
Of
a
course,
call
that's what you should
Andy
do.
kind of flush out.
And the three of you get on a phone together.
Yeah.
I'm going to request this conversation be brought back during budget. I'd like to hear back from the library, maybe at the last meeting,
Well,
where
yeah,
we
we
have
have to get this
answers,
flushed out.
and
Yeah.
then we can have this discussion again.
Yes, Susan.
Okay,
Sorry.
so we are going to have a capital meeting today and another one at the end of the budget hearing.
Right.
So we have a little time to decide that. And thank you.
And Andy will provide more information.
So Jimmy's gonna set up a call with you and he and Andy, so you can ask whatever questions you need to ask,
So in-
without it being, without anybody interpreting it, right?
Okay.
And in the
Have a direct
meantime,
conversation.
you know, you'll have time to meet with the Friends of the Library, the library board, anyone you want to, before our last capital meeting.
Okay.
So then we have answers.
And we have also decided that we're getting an independent engineer for this, because we do not have much confidence in Andy. After seeing the quality of the work he's done in town. The heating system.
How much does that cost?
Yeah, I
But
don't.
that's taxpayer money, so how much does that cost?
Well,
No, that's library money from 1/3 of a
They
mil.
want to bring in another engineer.
So what is it?
It's still
So
taxpayer,
raised through
but,
taxes.
yeah.
It's still raised through
Right,
taxation.
hold on, so what is
Well,
it,
now, why did you ask for estimates on building a community center and playing fields and a reservoir?
I understand that,
But
but
that's squandering taxpayer money because.
all right, so we need to stay on
the
topic,
town- Right,
we're-
we
but
just
we're
have to
talking
talk
about
the budget,
a question,
and the library has to be given the 1/3 of a mil, and we can spend it in library things.
right, so,
And we have plans, we know we have to do a lot of renovation once the roof is replaced.
so
So I
we,
think that's all we should really say to you.
so any question the council is going to ask about a money issue is perfectly reasonable.
Yes.
And no one, so if the
And
question is, what's it gonna cost
We
you?
invite all of you to come to our board meeting,
so
but this is just a budget
we,
hearing today.
we as the town have offered our town engineer to assist so that you, as the library, did not have to spend that engineering cost. Our building, that's why. It was our building, correct, so we have given an engineer who is, you know, a licensed engineer, the town trusts him, our borough engineer has looked at this, I mean, we're trying not to have you have to spend your budget on engineering costs. That's one of the things we were trying to do to help. So I'm saying if you're duplicating that effort, I'd like to know how much that costs.
We have not put that out yet.
So you don't know yet?
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
And at the time we did it, we were asked to, provide information on how much the cost was gonna be and how much the library was gonna put towards it, and we had no facts. So that was why we really needed to do that. We didn't have the definitive statement from Andy Hippolyte at $500,000. We were in the dark and had to evaluate what needs to be done, what's the cost, and what's both What does it include? Does it include the analyst room? Does it include the team? So those were the facts that we needed. So when we met on a special meeting on Tuesday night to address this issue, try to be responsive. So that's,
All right, so Julie and Andy and Jimmy are gonna have a conference together. So Julie will be able to ask Andy any questions she wants, to whatever the details might be. So it gives you a level of confidence that you need.
But
Go ahead,
as far
Jeff.
as the engineering cost comes, I mean, we as the borough will have paid for that. I'm just saying, that money has been spent.
Go ahead, Jeff.
All right, so we now know at least where we are on the roof right now, the sky view looking down. Let's take the library view looking up. How are we doing?
Yeah, internal.
How are we doing? I mean, I've heard your concern, I agree, with the ceiling tiles, where does that have to wait for the roof to really be properly addressed, or can it be addressed quicker?
Well,
Because
there'd be
you've
no
had-
sense in replacing ceiling tiles.
Right.
When the roof is, the shingles are leaking.
But has the problem, I guess
We don't
the,
even know what's underneath
right.
when we take off the tiles.
I guess the other way of putting it, I know that there was fear of tiles, always being in danger of falling. Has the problem stabilized, gotten a little better because the ones that were gonna fall fell, or it's gotten worse? I guess that's,
We've kind of had a dry winter,
we have.
and that's been.
We can't rely on that
That's
for this
been-
room.
Yeah.
It's like the old movies where, they're living in a roof that leaks and they put a bucket under, and they say, oh, we only need the bucket when it's raining. I mean, we've been very lucky. There has not been a heavy load of snow on there.
So then, from my question, I guess, for now, while it's not raining, we're kind of like this, it's
Yeah.
stable.
Yeah.
All right, because we're gonna have to think about how that gets addressed following the roof, and
Well,
hopefully the roof
we have
gets addressed
money set
quickly,
aside in
then
our
the ceiling
capital.
can be addressed quickly.
That's why we have money set aside in our capital account. Because first of all, if you go to other towns where the library is funded at comparable levels to what Tenafly is, their libraries are beautiful, interior-wise. Nice
Bless you.
furniture,
Bless you.
Thank you.
nice carpeting, good lighting, bathrooms
Bless
flush
you.
without
Bless you.
flooding your
Thank you.
teeth. I mean, it's just, to me, it's a disgrace that we've allowed the Tenafly Library and all the municipal buildings to become like they are.
So it sounds like we're all in agreement of replacing the roof this season and this year. So that's a good thing. Yes, Jimmy?
Sorry, as a side note, with the plumbing, that is in this capital budget.
Good.
So we also, in the capital repairs, talked about cinder blocks that were crumbling. What's happening? You want to tell us a little bit?
The maintenance staff put foam in the area where they had been crumbling, and nothing has
Nothing for it.
happened since then, like,
Did they think it's replaceable? Like it's the walls? I'm sorry, I just explained things.
yeah, so it's like the corner where the cinder block meets the roof.
Okay.
And they filled it with foam, and there hasn't been further deterioration. Nothing has, the foam is there, and
Did you have an estimate to fix that or replace that permanently?
no.
Are you getting one?
I mean, at this point, it's not, no.
Because that's not gonna be, if the roof construction goes, that's not gonna be part of that, right?
I
No,
didn't
it
think
wouldn't
so,
be.
but I would.
Right, it wouldn't be.
No.
So, I mean, if we're talking about internally, and, everyone wants to double up, that might be something that'd be good for, get, a real guy in, take a look, find out pricing, instead of a foam fix, let's fix it, and that way when the roof goes on top of it, no further issues. That might be something, so I'd like to hear about that, and
Well,
I
when
think
the
we
roof
should
gets
wait
done
until the roof
first,
is done.
my point is that I wanna know what that cost is, will you be spending the money to make that fix? Like, I don't think it makes sense to put a new roof on top of foam, so, if there's an issue in the corner.
Lauren,
The roof,
I think that the roof has to be done first, and then when it's
Right.
watertight, it's easier to replace.
Yeah, the roof
Well,
has
let's,
to
let's
be
give
fixed.
it a
Little-
professional person.
It's a little, spot of foam, it's not like a whole,
Not like a
part.
big cinder block.
No, it's not like a
area.
whole part of the wall that's full of foam, it's just a little bit.
Well, maybe that's a good question to ask Andy when you meet with him. Andy, when should this be repaired? What would make the most sense?
Julie, go
So
ahead.
just a quick question, so then with timing-wise, the second time we're meeting for capital, is Julie set to come back? Is that when, or?
Yeah,
we-
we're gonna bring
okay.
Julie back. This way she'll have had the conversation with Andy.
It's Tuesday, March 20th.
Yes.
I'm gonna try to introduce an ordinance for the temporary capital on the 21st. So if there's any way we could get the roof issue resolved,
Well, I think Jimmy's gonna set this conversation up for this week.
okay, maybe you could talk to your
Right.
board too about the
Yeah,
50%.
so he has to provide the information so that I can
So
call a
it's
board
online.
meeting.
No,
Yeah,
Okay.
It can't,
100%.
he can't
So-
just,
So let's just play hypothetical for a second. Let's say his quote that he just gave you for about approximately 500,000, is there any support to do Susan's plan and contribute?
She has to take it to the board.
yeah.
No, I'm asking right now as you sit here.
Well, I mean, the board has already said, they've even sent letters to the council saying that they would contribute to this project, but they do need the information. They have to do
No,
their
of
due
course,
diligence.
I'm saying when you get the true estimate and you bring it back, I don't think, if he just gave you this in 2022, I don't think it's gonna be, a whole nother $1 million on top of it. I think it'll be pretty close.
Well,
Yeah.
I
the
think it's
proposal,
fair to try and pin us down now, when you have no
Mr.
idea.
Gilbert, I'm not doing that. I'm saying what conversations have occurred, is there any willingness
Well-
here?
well, they sent a letter to the entire council.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the engineer is estimating it's $500,000, right? The second step is
How much?
Julie and the board getting a comfort level with what that includes and what that means from the technical specifications,
Right.
right?
Jeff?
Jeff?
Truthfully,
You,
Well, you
I
don't
was
give
just
us,
gonna make one statement. So as a taxpayer, since I've paid my taxes and we've given some of them to the library, I don't wanna get secondarily taxed to then contribute to the same thing.
Yeah, and I will point out that all the people that you see here, the board, the Friends, me, we are also taxpayers, and every decision that we make affects us personally as well.
right. Go ahead, Jeff.
I just want to go back to an earlier comment about lack of trust of the borough's engineer, if I'm quoting you correctly.
Yep.
So the question, and this is really not a comment, but something to think about. If you wanted a second look at it, a second estimate, just understand that with the timetable we're talking about, that it would probably risk not getting into the capital budget for this year. Because you're gonna need to find someone, get their estimate, weigh their estimate, then the council's gonna have to look at that, compare the two estimates and what you're looking at. And I understand your concern. I just want you to know that the net result of that could be pushing the timetable so that it would be further down the,
Well,
way down.
we've already spoken to our lawyer,
Mhm.
and he has come up with some names, so I don't know that there would be such a lag.
And understand, these aren't estimates. This is a budget. The last time we had an estimate of 200,000, the original contemplation was gonna cost us 200,000, and the one bid we got came in at 800,000, right? So this is an approximate estimation by the engineer of what it will cost. It's not specifically an estimate for a specific person to do the job. It has to go out to bid, and whoever wins it, wins it.
And that's what we have to see first.
You have to see what first?
What the contractor that bids on the project is going to charge.
We won't know that.
You won't know that until the bidding happens.
Until
A
you
blank check
go ahead.
for
No one's asking for a blank check.
$500,000.
Right, no one's asking for a blank check. That's what the engineers are estimating the project's going to cost. We won't actually know the exact number until the bids come in.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna reiterate, this is a borough engineer that has been vetted, that has been
Right,
working with
they're
us for
very
many years.
professional.
Very professional. does right by our borough time and time again. I would,
What about the heating system,
well,
Jimmy,
the cooling system?
I mean, a more recent one would be the facade project. I mean, it might be fair to ask the satisfaction of that completion, that a construction job.
right, good point, Jimmy.
right. But as far as the engineer's costs, they do research for us, they do comparisons. I'm just saying you might be running in place rather than letting us move forward, as Jeff's
Right.
making that point.
Question over here,
And I know you want to move it forward.
go ahead.
I have a very mundane question. Who is really responsible for the physical part of the library? Lauren, you have said this is our library, our building, and I've heard you say it before. So who is really responsible for the physical problems of the library?
Susan?
Okay.
Susan wants.
So it is a borough-owned property. So how this came about, asking for the funds from the library, is I was at a conference where somebody spoke, and before 2017, I believe is the year, what used to happen is we didn't hand over a check to the library for any funds that were raised through taxation. The money was spent down, whether buying books or other supplies to the library. So while I was at the conference, I did ask a speaker who was an attorney if the borough has to give back that money, or if we could put it into our surplus, and the answer was, you have to give the money back to the library. So then, in speaking with the auditor, I asked if I could just turn over the money rather than the library spending it down to zero, which was a win-win for the library and the borough. And I wrote a letter, and you have the letter about capital improvements, utilizing that money, and also us seeking our engineer to evaluate any improvements. Now, where this comes about is that the monies that are raised in each budget are through taxation. So what will happen now is we have a very tight budget this year, and we're going to be trying to keep many critical services in place and do above that. But with that being said, if we're asking for the library to contribute to the roof because the taxpayers have already been taxed on this money, if the library does not contribute or doesn't contribute enough, that means we have to go out and incur debt. And then when that debt has to be paid back, it's paid back through taxation again, through principal payments. So that we're requesting it. We know that the library doesn't have to do this. We know that, I think you have to get approval from the state library. I'm not sure if that still is the case, but do you have to, or just the board?
Just the board.
Okay, so if the board approves this, then it would definitely help keep the tax burden down from the taxpayers. So, like I said, the taxpayers have already been taxed on this, so we're requesting that you help us out so that we don't have to burden the taxpayer with additional taxes.
Thank you for clarifying, because it's just a request.
It is a request.
Also, when we get the estimate for the roof, is it going to be broken down to the library part, the McCandless part, the municipal borough part?
Yes, we're gonna,
So,
go ahead,
what-
Jimmy, let Jimmy
What
answer that
Jimmy could
question.
do is do that,
Then
exactly.
we've got a time is against us here.
Yeah, if I may,
Yeah.
that'll be a function of the phone call,
Okay.
Right.
with the
Because
engineer,
So
we
we'll
can
know.
We
determine
only
that.
use the McCandless room once a year,
Understood.
and the municipal. we
Yeah,
don't
we'll
use.
understand what the exact coverage is, and then from there, we could determine,
Okay,
Yeah,
I just,
So,
yeah.
you know, so,
Broken down.
to a more direct answer to your question, it's like everything, all the borough-owned property, ultimately, the taxpayers, everybody in this room is responsible for all this stuff, right? So, but to continue on with Susan's point, it's, you know, we have the nature center, we have the senior center, we have co-sponsored sports going on, and for lack of a better term, we have expense-sharing experiences with all of them. When the nature center needs to do something, you know, we share, they contribute some, the borough contributes some. Whether it goes on with co-sponsored sports, there's, you know, the borough employees are paid yet the parents have to pay an additional money. So there's a lot of this going on.
It's in this town 39
You know,
years. I know
right.
exactly
Yeah,
which is.
but it's important that it goes on in every specific area of the borough and all the services, so, but, okay.
And by the way, I'm not asking to be difficult. What I'm asking to do is to move this project faster.
And
We want to get it in this budget. We want to get it moving for you. We want the roof replaced within this calendar year. And if we have to go back out and in bond or incur more debt and everything, all of that is a timing issue as well.
Lauren, I just heard you say, this is our building. And
Well, I mean, it's not an exact science when I say those things.
Right,
It's
well-
talking, you know, and I'm going to rely upon, you know.
It's really all of our
It's all of our
Well,
buildings.
of course, and when I say that, you know, like I said, it's not like I'm not looking at the deed and saying who owns the land, who owns the roof.
Right.
What I'm trying to do here is facilitate, and so I want it in the budget this year, I want to replace it, I want it done efficiently, and not to incur additional debt. And so we are being advised by, on our end, how to do it the quickest, and we're getting a huge pushback.
All right, Julie, do you have any,
We surely
we're,
don't want to be adversarial about it.
no, we're not trying, we're all, we all want to get this roof done. We
Yeah.
all have a high degree of
Oh.
respect and love the library, so this,
My
this
kids are
one
there every
done
weekend.
quickly. Go ahead. All right, so let's stay focused, because we're out of time here. Go ahead.
Okay, I just, you know, I'm new to all this. And when I first came in, same issue was we need a new roof. And then the next thing I knew, we were talking about a completely new building, and you're saying you really want this done, and there's an urgency. Well, when I came in, what was it, a year ago, there was an urgency then, but you were talking about a completely new building, which would have delayed us for 5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering what changed in that time that suddenly,
Well, actually, nothing's changed. It's the same situation. In other words,
spent all that money on.
Nothing said.
Nothing has changed.
I came in
Right.
talking about, you know, what would you want in a new
Yes,
library?
but those are future, that's future.
Those are right, so in other words,
Just the options, right?
it's there, we're discussing options. We always have conversations about options. It doesn't change the fact that the roof needs to be replaced. But if you're getting into the rational discussion of should we build a new building, and let's say it takes 5 years, well, then the roof has to be replaced now. But we have no idea if we're going to build a new building. It's all very speculative. So it's still the same. The roof needs to be replaced, whether there's new buildings that happen half a decade from now or not.
We were also asking our engineers, saying, look, the roof is coming in at almost $1 million, and it was outrageous. How much would a new building?
Right.
Is it $3 million, $10 million, you know, and trying to make a financial decision also in that sense. So to get to that answer, we had to go through that exercise. And now, thank goodness, the costs have come down on the roof, it's a little bit more
Well, we'll
reasonable.
see. All right.
Well, we'll see is right.
Thank you. Julie, any other closing comments or questions? Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for serving on the library board. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here today on Saturday morning. Is Jeff,
Susan, yeah,
is Jeff here?
Doesn't have to be.
That's all right.
Please.
We own it.
If any council member, well, actually, anyone wants to, Dan, his bagels in the kitchen.
The council speaks, and I'm the one who gets through.
You could say whatever, I could explain it. I do want to say I'm ready for all the things we're gonna do, what we talked about. So
For when?
I could be maybe during capital.
Let's do it during capital, and remind me. Yeah, right.
No, yeah, I just want to make sure we have a full list.
Because you don't see this.
Right.
Maybe they'll hear it.
Okay, Jeff, Julie,
Make any sense if you guys aren't prepared.
how you doing, Jeff?
Good, how
Good.
Such a waste of money.
Should we,
It's such a waste.
put them at the table somehow?
Or just individually to get them, I guess.
They're going to.
All right, Jeff, thank you, Julie.
That's it.
Bye, Julie, that's
Sorry.
money.
Jeff, how you doing?
Thank you, Julie.
Not minimum.
Good.
Let them do it. Then there'll be more satisfaction.
Good.
Hi, Jeff.
So what's going on in the tax assessor's office?
Busy. Just a quick recap. Here.
Right, Dan, you can definitely, if I go this way. Fine.
After adding only $6 million for '22, last year we added $20 million to the tax rolls, which is
That
decent
helps.
number.
That's insane.
Helps a lot.
What is, that's like significantly more than other
Yeah.
towns,
And that's
Part of the calculation.
after all the tax appeals you guys have signed the resolutions for.
Yeah.
I've been continuing to try to use the influx in money to knock down the mountain of tax appeals that we've had. When I started, I want to say it was in the 200 line items. I'm into maybe the 30s now. I expect maybe one more year of significant settlements. And then after that, hopefully we can get back to a level of just maintaining the filings coming in equals the filings going out rather than getting avalanche. With that said, though, I expect, it hasn't happened yet, knock on wood, but I was expecting a high influx of filings this year because everybody's panicking about inflation and things like that. But overall, sales prices, while they've slowed down, the length on the market has extended. The prices are staying high a little bit. Tenafly is lucky in that a lot of our buyers on the high end are cash buyers. Even for the $4 million properties, they're cash buyers. So it's not being hit so much right now by the high interest rates.
Say, this is a novice question, but what's the difference if they take out a mortgage or they pay all cash?
They don't pay any interest.
No interest. You have market interest. Yeah.
They can afford more house.
Greater buying power if you're paying by cash. Yeah.
So if you're closing,
The time of free money or, 2% interest rates is gone for now. I don't know when it's gonna come back, if it comes back.
probably going up again.
But, this market, I wasn't here at the time, but when I started, I did a little historical digging. Tenafly did okay during the 2008 downturn. I suspect it should do just as well during this one. The only thing I like to caution, I said it last year and I was surprised, but I'm gonna say it again, the added assessments will have to slow down at some point. We're going to run out of properties to tear down. We're gonna run out of properties where you can build.
Nobody tear them down,
Yes,
don't worry.
to build new houses, but we're still a little way away from that. My draw for the COAs is slowly growing, which means that, we're on pace for last year.
What do you mean your draw?
A COA is, the affordable housing.
Right.
For new construction, we charge, the building department charges, developmental fee.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep a record of all of them, so I know all the new construction. So the more full my drawer gets.
Oh, so you mean like literally a drawer and a
Yes,
desk?
yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay, I thought you were using it as an acronym.
No. So the more full that gets, the more money, if it takes a year or two for the houses to be finished, but they'll eventually come in. So that plus, the people that are deciding to stay in town are starting to do a little bit more work within their own homes, which is less of an increase than if you're building a brand-new house, but that drawer is getting full as well. So it's staying healthy, at least for the next year, maybe 2 years. It'll continue at that pace, but I just want to caution everybody that we'll eventually have to slow down because there's only so much people can do, and then you have to wait for the next cycle to come in a couple of years. People put a kitchen in now, they're good for the next 10, 15 years until they have to do it again.
Right.
What is our commercial base? Like how?
Very small. I don't know
It's 8%.
I'm sorry, you know that?
It's 8%.
Yeah, okay.
And
I do know.
90,
dropping.
Right, 92% of all the taxes are paid by homeowners,
Yeah.
residential homeowners. About 8% is paid.
And that's
commercial.
why that 20 million is phenomenal, because you don't see that on a residential base. I mean, we're getting a lot of
That
turnover on the new construction.
now there's no more trees, so don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk the next one. Only 8%. How do we? Any suggestions on how to? I mean, I guess that's a whole thing.
You build things that aren't residential.
Yeah, I mean,
Just
the only,
I'm not trying to be sarcastic,
Yeah.
but that's the only way to do it.
I've seen a couple of resolutions come through and building department permits come through. I know on Railroad, a couple properties were approved for commercial bottom and, 3 or 4 apartments, maybe even more on top. Those are gonna help. Those are considered commercial properties. Since it's mostly apartments, it's not a huge tax base compared to if you were putting like a Stop and Shop or things like that. But there's not a lot of commercial property space available within Tenafly. It's a very hilly, residential town, so there's not much you can do other than if the town, and this would be expensive, it's not something I would recommend, if the town were to buy properties and then rezone it as commercial, then you could do things like that. But even that, you'd have to do a cost-benefit analysis because the output of money to buy these properties, is it going to be worth it on the tax base that you're going to bring in? Correct.
And I think with the apartments on top of the, like you say, first floor of the being commercial, that kind of nullifies the benefit.
Yeah, I mean, right now,
schools then.
yeah, right now, rents are high, so I haven't done any numbers on them, but I would assume that the market value of those properties when complete would support a high assessment based on how many apartments are in there. But we're also working against numbers. Our last reval was done in 2010, so I have to treat everybody fairly. So I have to use numbers back from 2010 while I'm considering what an assessment is right now, because if they were to appeal their taxes after I put an assessment on them based on current market value, they could appeal based on discrimination, and not discrimination as you would expect it to be used, but discrimination on why am I being taxed at this, but a similar property like this that's only 6 years old is being taxed on this. You have to kind of weigh those considerations. But any new construction is going to be taxed at a base that's higher than what was there. That is always a good thing.
It's one of the benefits of the town. If somebody buys a 60-year-old ranch somewhere, tears it down, and puts up, a much bigger home there, the taxes on that property go up.
And everyone's blood.
I just did, let's say,
trees.
It was
Revenue up front, costs down the stream, literally.
Right.
I just processed a new construction. It was, like you said, a ranch. The assessment was $1.1 million, and that was getting, based on the 22 tax rate, $29,800. They put a 6,000 square foot house on it. The new taxes are going to be
No trees.
I guess that's TI 83. 80,000. So
that's low for a 6,000 square foot house, though.
It
some
is.
of the smaller ones.
Well, it's a $3.5 million home.
It's a $3 million.
That's
That's a $3 million assessment, and that $3 million, because I don't want to bore everybody with the math, but our ratio is at 80%, so that equals a $3.7 million true value assessment.
And even if you do the math from his example, based on 3.1, and just assume 2 kids in the house, and the kids cost $18,000 in the school district, the town's still ahead financially.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not low for the homeowner, let me just be really clear.
That's what?
No.
That's crazy for the homeowner. I said the taxes, but I thought the tax would be a higher rate.
And that's, when people come into my office, that's what I try to explain to them.
Yeah.
Your
Jeff,
tax.
I'm sorry. Please go on, Jeff, I apologize.
Adam Michael.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Hey, Jeff. It's Adam. I just had a question. We've been speaking about this every year during the budgeting process, and you were very helpful. If I remember correctly, and I'm sure I'll butcher it, but one of the things that we've been discussing over the years is that people are building houses, and I'm going to get this all wrong. Building houses, doing 99%. The builders. It's actually not individuals. The builders are building 99.9% of the house. They're forgetting the doorknob. And then they don't pay taxes until that doorknob is installed. Obviously, I'm joking a little bit, but I believe that's what you've sort of explained to us. Have we been doing a better job with these third-party builders coming in and collecting either completely new houses, getting the taxes, or again, they're gutting the house and again, forgetting the doorknob, and we're not getting that money? Are we doing a better job at getting that money faster? And did I understand that correctly?
Yes. We got lucky. I hate to say it this way, but in this particular context, we got lucky with COVID in that people were wanting to buy left and right. So all of those outstanding properties that were sitting out there not complete when I started, my first year, Sharon and I did an inventory of everything. That was 19, and we caught a lot of them. for 20. That's why my first year, our numbers went up 20,000 in 21. Our tax base went up 20,000. That was collecting a lot of those old ones. After that, anything that was outstanding, I don't want to say everything, but the majority of everything that was outstanding was completed because now they could be sold. So going forward, I have been keeping a spreadsheet of every permit that comes, and anytime it seems to get past the point where logically it should have been completed, we follow up on that with the building department. I know that Monica in the past has started sending out letters saying, you know, we've been notified that this permit is so many years old or so many months old, what's the status, and then we're following up in that way. But I can't say that I caught everything. I don't ever want to say, you know, we're 100%, but I do believe that we've caught a majority of them. And ones that we didn't catch, I'd have to say were completed and sold because the number of outstanding COA files that I have shrunk for, you know, shrunk by a considerable amount.
That's awesome. And thank you, Jeff, and my council knows that's a huge win because that was just money, you know, on the floor that we weren't picking up. So that's wonderful. And thank you for cleaning up that backlog.
Yes, absolutely.
Can I ask about staffing?
We are good.
You're good and you're comfortable at your level? And
Yes. We work well together. I know it's only a two-person office.
You're not overwhelmed at times?
No. We work well together in the fact that we coordinate when we're going to be out. I don't think, last year she had, you know, everybody in the building knows, so I'm not getting it, you know, making any secrets. She had COVID.
Yeah.
Gave it to me. So there was like a 3 or 4 day window there where the office had to be closed, but other than that, you know, we're good. We you know, communicate well. We keep the doors always open. So I don't have an issue at this moment.
And you're able to take your time off
Yes.
appropriately,
Yes.
vacation and
Yep.
everything? Okay.
If I may add just to that, her long tenure in this office, that has been tremendous, and to
Yeah.
Jeff with that.
Yeah.
How many years has she been with us?
She was a part-timer before she moved into the assessor's office, so I want to say a good 16 years total.
Wow.
Good.
Okay.
She's an excellent worker.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah.
All right, who has other questions for Jeff? Or Jeff, do you have anything else you want to say?
Just that my budget is pretty much in line from last year. 2 small increases, postage, because that seems to go up every 6 months now.
Yeah.
And then for conferences, just due to mileage and the rates for the hotels, that's increased. The last couple of years, I've kept even the conferences under budget because the county has been nice enough to cover the hotel accommodations for one of the 2 conferences. Other than that, I believe, Susan, the tax maps is usually an issue every year. Were we able to just transfer last year's money to this year rather than new appropriation?
So what happens is, I can't transfer the
You
money.
can't? Okay.
I have to just leave it there, and then it'll lapse into surplus if we don't use it.
Okay. So other than that, everything is...
I have a question. Is there any software or technology you could use to make your role more efficient or more financially beneficial for the municipality?
The assessing software is provided by the county. Mod 4, it's called Microsystems. They have a contract with the county. The county provides the software and they pay for the software.
And we don't contribute to that?
Just in your county
With the county taxes,
Yeah,
but
that's
there's not a separate
No.
levy to us or a bill or anything?
The only thing I would make note of is, I believe I put it in the transmittal, tech said that our computers, Sharon and I's, are out of date. If they do...
What's out of date?
Our computers.
Okay.
If they do a software update, you know, a full software update, then we will be obsolete. I believe that was put into...
Jimmy, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, so that's part of the capital budget.
It's in the budget to give them new
Yeah,
computers?
I included it, so it's not every department, including
Understood.
1,100, yeah, correct. Correct, we have when we get that, there's a full budget, inventory of the computers, their age, and so on and so forth, so that's included in the admin capital.
Yeah,
for the
so...
whole bill.
Are we
The-
using laptops? Their desktop? You want a laptop?
Well, I was just going to add that. So the county provides the software. The county also provides every assessor in Bergen County with a laptop. So I have that. Just the desktop would be good for the office.
Okay. Vanu?
So, yeah, I just wanted to say on something related to Sharon Peterson. She's also the Board of Adjustment Secretary. She came in about 3-4 months ago, and she's fitting in very well, and she's doing an excellent job.
You'll have no problems with her. She is fantastic.
Go ahead.
There may be a possibility that I can maybe cut the 10,000 from this year. I have to ask the auditors. They're coming in next week to do the financial statements. If there's a way to pull the money and put it into what we call a balance sheet account, so it's perpetual, I'll do it. And then we can get rid of that. I'll make a note of that.
Yeah, the reason that Susan and I discussed that is because I don't foresee using that money this year, but I still, like I say, every year, I don't know when the county's going to order the eval, so I'd like to have money available if I need to do anything with the tax maps, that's all.
All right. Any other comments?
Thank you so much.
Beth, I'm sure you'd rather stay here another half an hour or so.
Thank you.
So you can make up your library time on me.
That's okay. It's all right.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You do. Enjoy, everyone.
That reduction in the backlog is awesome. by the
Well,
way.
yeah, that's why the number jumped. So, I know that the surplus went down. I know Susan and I talked about it, but the reason the surplus was so high is because before me, nobody was using it. So, hopefully we get to a point where everything balances out.
Was COVID actually helpful? Because
For
we
my
didn't
office,
have interruptions and,
The market went up, so tax appeals went down, so I could use the revenue in order to.
No, I just mean to clear the backlog.
Yes, that's, everybody sold. All the houses that were outstanding sold, so we're.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We've got Mary Beth Wilmot online. We're ready to go right into the planning board. Mary Beth, thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me. So,
Can we hear her? Make it louder. All right, everyone go to your planning board page.
well, happily, the planning board page, I think is pretty uninteresting because we're not asking for any increases. Last year, the planning board we completed 12 applications, and in addition, we had 4 informal site plan reviews. We also completed our open space re-examination for our open space plan. Next year, this year now, this calendar year, we're working on our master plan re-examination, which needs to be completed by the end of June. And in addition, we foresee another busy year with applications, but for budget purposes, the applications are paid for by the applicant, all our professionals. We budgeted last year for the re-examination and just are gonna use that money. And again, the rest of our expenses have stayed the same, so for what we're asking for. So we're pretty uninteresting, which I'm happy to say, and happy to take any questions anybody has about our budget requests.
Jeff, go ahead, please.
All right, so Mary Beth, thank you for coming on this. I know the answer, but I think this is more for the benefit of other council members. Last year was an unusually large request for legal services, and I believe that number is going back down to where it had been previously. You want to just summarize why it was so high and why it's back down?
Yeah, we had two major litigations with applications that we had before us in the decisions that the planning board made. And so when we were sued, we obviously litigated that. We didn't get the outcomes we would necessarily have liked. The judge was not as favorable to us as we would have hoped, but the litigations have been concluded, and so we're good for now. Again, we can never guarantee it, Jeff, as you know, and everyone else knows, we can never guarantee if there'll be additional litigation, but right at this moment, we're not budgeting for any particular litigation that we had last year.
Right, and because we're good with the COA, because the court's decision for a while, we don't have to worry about builder remedy suits or any of that at this moment, right?
Well, no, but even with that one, Jeff, with that would have come out, that any money that deals with the COA, any affordable housing, that would come out of the affordable housing fund. I think actually the assessor was talking about the monies for that. So that would come out of a separate fund. That wouldn't come out of our budget with that. So that would come out of the redevelopment, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
I mean, Mayor and Jeff might know this, but Mary Beth, what's the deal with the, so we're not following up on anything for Bottle King lawsuit? We're out of that completely, and are they continuing?
We're not a party to that, too.
We're not, I
Are
thought
we?
we were named, we weren't named.
Technically, we are.
Yeah.
So, Mary Beth, the question is a status update regarding the litigation between Bottle King and the other liquor stores.
Yeah, I think that I do think that there's something still ongoing, but I think our involvement is minimal. And so the numbers that our attorney Jeff Zen gave were maybe he felt that the numbers that we had would be sufficient. Again, I think that we have some minimal involvement, but it's Bottle King is the one largely paying for the litigation with that.
And they're on appeal right now, aren't they, from the
Correct.
first decision?
Yes.
Right.
So we don't foresee any.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We don't see what?
Sorry, Mary Beth. I said for all of the new buildings coming in, we'll have no no need for legal fees and any of that.
We have, not to answer for Mary Beth, but we have no way of saying not going to happen, right? I just don't know.
I concur with Mark. Right now, there's nothing that we're aware of, and nothing that, like, our attorneys have been kind of, informally notified of. But, we can never guarantee that. Can I say 100% that no one will come in and sue us over something? No, I can't. But we have no reason. We had no contentious applications where where someone hired an attorney to, who was unhappy with the outcome. I think there was one or two attorneys involved, but they had basically settled upon what they would be happy with during the process of the application. So we didn't have anything where there was an attorney who was where there was a contentious application this year.
Thank you for that. And thank you for everything you do. Honestly, you do an incredible job. So thank you. And
I'd say it's my pleasure, but I'm not sure.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Who has other questions for Mary Beth?
No.
I think we're good on her budget. Anyone?
Thank you, Mary Beth.
All right, I think we're in, Mary Beth. Let's have anything you want to talk about. I think we're good.
Okay, great. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for everything. I appreciate you guys have a long day, so thank you for hearing me.
All right, have a good weekend.
You too. Take care.
Take care.
Yeah, they're not very high.
Okay.
If you guys on the planning board don't mind, I would like any status on any of that Bottle King stuff. People ask me all the time what's up with that.
So what's going on is Bottle King has appealed the appealed the first decision. We don't know beyond that where they are in that process, right? That's one. It was estimated it would take about a year for that next decision, and that started when, about 4 months ago?
No, longer.
Maybe 6 months ago?
Yeah,
So maybe we'll know something in November, right?
And what's interesting about it, this is a side note to it, if they didn't want to go through the whole legal process to redo the building the way they envision it, they could tomorrow...
Break ground.
No, they could tomorrow gut the current building and open up as soon as possible.
Yeah, that zone, for example, we could start selling alcohol out of there this afternoon.
So what, they just want to go up?
They just want the building designed further back to allow parking and a better loading dock and back.
Yeah.
They want it the way they want it, but they could theoretically, until they could have spent the last year or two operating out of that building without needing anything.
So I'm sorry, I don't want to get into a whole aside here, but this is a question I was having with Jimmy yesterday.
That's 100% accurate.
So, does that building fall under vacant property, or is that building active property? Because it's under the ordinance.
It's an active litigation. The guy came to the planning board, got approval. Right, he doesn't have the ability to do the project he's trying to do. I mean, why would we punish him? I guess,
That's a tough one.
Well, he could clean his property up, I mean, it's an eyesore, I love it.
Well, that's a separate question, yeah.
That's exactly.
Jimmy, that's,
okay.
No to that one. Make sure the property is, all right.
All right, it's a big one.
Let's get moving ahead. Michael Cassidy,
Come on up.
Public Works.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here.
How are you doing today?
Okay.
Hi, Mike.
Thanks for joining us.
We literally need like 5 hours.
All right. Do you want to give us a little overview of what's going on, and then if Susan wants to
I have so many questions.
give her comments after yours, and then we'll go into questions.
Minimal,
Questions as we go.
minimal increases as far as asks this year, for our operating.
I want to actually talk about your your staffing.
All right, so go ahead, Mike.
So looking for an increase. The JIF has changed some requirements for us, and we're looking to increase the stipend there. My staff, my administrative assistant, I'm looking to move her up a little bit to make her more comparable with other employees in my department as well as in the borough, based on added responsibilities that she's taken on since she started here. And one small ask was to bump, I had a request from one of my foremen to move one of our driver laborers to skip a step, to move him up based on an excellent performance that he's been showing since he's been there. And I endorsed that, put it through. That's for your consideration, of course.
So, I got a question about the JIF, Commissioner. Just, all of the work she does relating to the JIF, is on her 35-hour time, right? It's not, that she goes outside of it.
Her meetings are outside of it, she's required, there's
Right,
required
aside from the
things
meetings.
like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have those increased, the meetings? The number of meetings and things like that?
Yeah,
I gotta bounce.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah.
we do have to create, by recommendation of the JIF, to be in line with all their, requirements, with the, pretty much essentially have more meetings, more subcommittee meetings, safety meetings, everything related also to the IT, aspect of our coverage is also just every year is just increasing. So again, that number is the employee's requests. Susan and I have met with that employee. So I do want to say that was the employee's request, and but
No, I get that, but the question is really, so she's currently doing these responsibilities within the 35 hours, right? So if her responsibilities for the JIF have increased, that's coming out of the 35 hours, so she has less time for DPW-related activities.
Okay, so that statement is true, but what Jimmy and I did, we assessed the position and the level of competency and the job description, which has changed for the JIF, because now with the cybersecurity mandates, that person now needs to become more versed in the requirements of cybersecurity. So the level of competency for the JIF has gone up. She's got so much work to do with that, but yes, it will affect Michael's overall level of work that he has to do. So maybe that's why, I don't know if you're going to be shifting to Christine some of these responsibilities, or if the employee can absorb those as well. But Jimmy and I downgraded the amount, but from 10,000 to 5, but we felt that that was a fair number based on the new level of requirements that the borough has to have. And I think if you were going to move this stipend to someone else, that's what you would have to pay someone else to do the work.
So just to complete the thought, I understand that, but what I'm getting at is with the reduced time to do her DPW responsibilities and pushing that off onto others, and just not being able to complete the work necessary. Will that then lead to having to hire somebody else, or or do you think that the work that the two are doing can still be contained within?
Christine is the other
right, yeah,
assistant, takes on a lot more duties to allow Lynn to complete the JIF
But you won't need to then go outside at this point?
I'm hoping not. That would be a budget question for next year. We got to see exactly what this entails, these additional, committees and such that she's going to be required to do.
Because it would be, it wouldn't be, I guess, in my mind, the right thing to all of a sudden have somebody who's doing something that's outside of their normal activities, and then, because of that, we then need an additional employee. That would not be appropriate.
I'm sorry, at this time, I don't anticipate having to hire again.
So,
Sorry, I apologize. Just on that vein, there is a benefit to our premium does decrease a certain amount if we fulfill all of our obligations, so that would in turn save us a little bit, up to like $25,000 on our premium by fulfilling all of our obligations.
Agreed. I mean, but
yes, to your point, yes.
And by the same token, I know she's been doing it for 2 or 3 years now, but is there a different department? I think it was, she took it on because at the time there was nobody within admin and, all of that could do it. Is that something that needs to be brought back in some way into something that makes a little more sense from a
It was in the assessor's office in the beginning, and now, then it moved from the assessor's office into DPW.
okay, wait, I have a clarification question. I'm very confused here. All of our cybersecurity, all of our networks, all of our systems are run as the Board of Ed. So what is she doing?
It's not that, it's the policies and procedures that are being required now of the borough to be fulfilled. It's a lot of work.
It's paperwork. It's not like she's
It's compliance. It's compliance.
Compliance in
That's what I want to clarify.
In what regard?
I'm not understanding.
We're reporting? Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, if I may. So, computers being running a certain operating system, so make sure to say,
Really?
But just to make sure to say, to actually follow up with department trainings, ensuring we're subscribed. I have to, now when we're meeting all these these 3-tier systems, that the JIF late last year, had us mandated. So making sure we were subscribed to certain, IT networks. And the big thing is really just the training, and that's why I like it coming out of DPW, is because a lot of the training in general relates to DPW, and then obviously amongst administrative staff, but that's essentially following up, because she sends all the emails to make sure and follows up to everyone.
Yes.
That just increases the number of trainings and certifications that everyone needs to subscribe to. So it's a lot. It's administrative. It's administrative work, not necessarily back-end network IT.
So again, Vinny's first question is, if she's doing it during her time and she's hired as the admin, why are we giving a stipend?
Outside her job title.
It's outside her job title. Well,
right.
I think it's a high stipend request by the employee.
What's the number?
That 10. She wanted 10.
We brought it down to 5.
Yeah, we brought it down to 5.
This is 5. Our stipends are usually 2 or 3 for some of this stuff. All of the people who do our outside work on our boards and committees are usually around 2 or 3.
Just to correct, I mean, the planning board and the board of adjustment, I think the stipends are $4,000, right?
Did we just do
Yeah,
that?
3. No, the planning board was 4.
Planning board is $4,000.
Yeah.
No. Are you sure we just?
Well,
I just
take a
looked
look.
at it.
Take a look.
I just looked at it.
Just looked at it. Okay. Susan just looked at it, but I'll flip, because I thought it was both 35.
No.
It's like, it's a high request, and I'm not being mean about it. I'm sure she's working very hard. It's an above and a salary thing. She's not actually doing computer cybersecurity, that's our BOE. She's doing administrative organization to make sure we get trained, DPW gets trained, that we all,
The whole barrel.
So I guess, Michael, the question is why would this particular stipend be
so high
charged? It would be higher than, let's just use the planning board. The planning board is $4,000.
It's currently $2,500
right.
that she receives, so
right.
if
it moved up to, it was $3,500 last year.
$4,000.
Last year you moved
So we
up.
upped her, we didn't even
I guess we should always endeavor to try to keep it consistent. The same job responsibility should be consistent from one department to another.
And these things are JIF-driven. These are not, it has to be done. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, yeah, it's going to add the workload. I think, 5,000, Jimmy and Susan agreed that would be a reasonable accommodation at this point.
Let's say 3,500.
So I would argue to keep it consistent with the planning board at $4,000. Does that work based on?
I think what might help is the summary that was put together for the additional work this year. So,
That's look good.
did everybody read this about this, what she's gonna be doing? You did?
Yeah.
We raised the plan.
You know, one thing that I'd say, hey, Mike, it's Adam. One thing, mostly speaking to my fellow council people, but, you know, I think we look at these budgets and we're always adding, right? There's new things that come in. You know, one thing that I don't think we challenge ourselves enough on is what doesn't have to happen. You know, the old cliche, we still photocopy everything. We always talk about the environment, yet we're photocopying all day long, tons of documents. We're not challenging ourselves to look at what we don't have to do. I would have, you know, we'd gone to all of our department heads and say, what are 5 things that you're no longer going to do? I've done this in my old work. What we do is we just add to our plates and keep doing work that we don't really necessarily have to do. We've always been doing it, so let's continue. You know, again, I continue to push this council. I don't think we think in advance enough and strategize enough around what we want to do. We just get a huge budget binder and just accept stuff. We have to be thinking about, I would have challenged all department heads, what are 5 things you no longer have to do? That's how you add in stuff like cybersecurity versus, you know, all we do is add, not take away. I don't know if there's still time, Susan, to do that with the department heads. What are just 5 things you no longer need to be doing because they're no longer buggy whips in town?
So, Adam, you know, you and I have had many discussions about things like to do. So in my department right now, I have tasked with each and every person with streamlining and improving efficiencies. And what we're doing is, and I did a paper on this in graduate school, what is it that we're doing that doesn't add value to the municipality? So anything that doesn't add value needs to go.
So for right now, we have 2 employees. One of them is picking up someone else's slack to get this work done. We need to reimagine how this department works. Mike, I sort of then task that to this department, right?
So one of the issues is that this job, this JIF job, this stipend has definitely evolved into something more due to the hacking of last year and the cybersecurity issue.
That's all the BOE. That's the BOE.
That's not all the BOE. This person, I mean, I would tell you if I thought this person didn't deserve an increase. This person is going to have to do a lot of training and initiate the training throughout the borough and ensure that the training is being done. So I think what the mayor suggested, like the 4,000 might be a good compromise here.
I want to go back.
First Julie, then Laura.
Sorry.
Yeah, I had a question, but because I understand what the mayor's saying, but I want to really drill down to it. If this JIF thing is now a new requirement, and it's more appropriate because the person is doing more than the planning board person, for example, that she makes 1,000 more than the planning board person, then I don't really have a problem with the person who has to do more things, getting compensated more than in another department. Although I hear what you're saying is like, it is good for, you know, the agreement or accordance between departments that we don't have, like, oh, well, in that one, she's making this and that. So I get you. But I wanted to drill down into what the job actually is. And if it's got these higher requirements, I would be curious to know, is 5,000 in line with what other towns that are our size who are having to do the JIF compliance, are they doing $5,000 stipends, or are they doing $10,000 stipends?
Or no stipends.
No,
they may roll it into someone's salary, you know.
Right. No,
so,
and in that way, I mean, stipend, like, are they increasing someone's salary by 5,000? You know, that's of more interest to me than, okay, someone on another department, because I understand this, we have a new job requirement, and we have to compensate the person.
So the stipend is good in a way that you can move it around and it's not pensionable.
Right.
So that's one aspect of looking at this. So, but I do think that if this person, Lynn, who has expertise now in this JIF work and knows how to do it, and she's doing a very good job of it, that if she is required to do additional work, and Mike, as the department head, can shift some of the work around to accommodate this mandated work, the borough needs to do it. And we have to come up with a way to do it. So what could happen is this person could turn around and say, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah.
And just to finish my.
Yeah, and then you have to get someone else who has no expertise.
And just to finish,
Correct, that's true.
just to finish,
100%.
just to finish my thought
Let me,
is,
Just, I'm gonna interrupt for a second. Hold on a second, just,
yeah.
don't get into any discussions.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
You
John.
can't talk about
About the
names.
particular-
Well, no, the names are in the budget.
But,
We can't-
that's fine, but to say they do a good job, bad
They
job,
do.
anything about,
That's not the floor.
anything about their job performance, good
Okay, yeah,
or bad,
okay.
cannot be
All
mentioned
right.
without them being right.
Okay, that's right.
So we
All right.
need to make sure that we just
It's a
stick
neutral-
to
The title.
All right,
the
then
title, the person's
expertise-
name is fine,
expertise in this.
expertise
Okay,
is fine,
then
but
expertise in.
opinions on good or bad
Okay.
job
just
cannot.
to finish my thought, where my head is at, is that, and look, you're the people in charge of knowing what's going on between departments, so I take what you're saying seriously, you and Jimmy. But
But not licensed.
from my perspective, the difference between $1,000 of one person's stipend to another person's stipend is not enough for me to say, let's now make this person feel insulted or like they're not adequately compensated, because it's not really that big a difference. Like, if they're coming in asking for 10 and the recommendation was 5, I don't know that it's so necessary to make it 4 if it's in line with what is appropriate for them to get. So that's just where my head
10
is
was
at.
never, 10 was like fully an unrealistic ask.
Well-
Understand that in the world of our stipend. We added to the budget, one year, when I first started here, we had over $200,000, $300,000 of like just stipends. And we have actually spent years getting those out.
I'm talking about taking the recommendations that were put in this budget by them, and they said 5, and we're talking about the difference between 4 versus 5, and that's.
All right, so I have two questions, and then Laura. Is there any way we can, like, do this, hire someone from the outside to do this professionally rather than even doing it internally?
I don't think you want to do it because the person does have expertise in it. Has met with the JIF commission, does all these things, and like I said, the expertise is invaluable to this borough.
So let me ask you a
What
question.
about the floater?
Right, but is this something we can hire the JIF to do for us?
And it would be more costly, I would say.
Well, I'm just asking the open question.
I don't know, I mean, we could investigate that.
Just so, in other words, if we don't need to do it internally, it's something to at least have an answer to.
All right, we could
Right, so
look
no,
into that.
yes, Lauren.
But I don't,
Two questions. One, when this is done, I want to revisit actually the planning board stipend, because I didn't even realize it got raised.
you can't lower it now. It was
Why?
adopted in a previous budget. And it wouldn't be good to do
Why?
something.
Let's not go backwards.
Yeah,
with the planning
you can't
board.
go
No, it was 3,500
Yeah.
last year.
I know, but you don't want to do something like that.
Well, I might, but
Why?
Okay, so
The
we're not going to have a
second
planning
It's
board
not good to
discussion
do
right
the
now.
second question is, does
You need to get
this
rid of it
JIF
when
work
the person leaves.
for the entire borough, does it oversee, is it something joint use would be appropriate for, that we split this cost or the stipend with the borough?
What's the cost with
It's
those?
only compliance on our end.
When she's on the females do the mill training.
Right, but I don't
She's
need
gotta do that.
$5,000 to send an email to do a mill training.
It's a lot of tracking.
Track it.
Tracking.
Right, someo's got to actually do the
Compliance,
work.
tracking,
Work.
reporting.
Like
Well, I
tracking,
understand, which is
checklist.
why I want to
And
get
we got
our
hacked
stipend, but
last year, I mean, a mandate now.
So I guess
These
what,
are high
yeah, Jimmy,
stipends.
go ahead.
Yeah, so, I believe the way, I think it's preferable to keep it this in-house.
Okay.
Just the level of service and follow-up, and it gives a good incentive to employees to be able to make a little bit more, and for something that the borough is mandated to do. If we're going to an outside service, we're going to lose that quality of service, that type of follow-up, to make sure that we are compliant, and that, again, there is a good benefit here that our premiums does reduce.
And the familiarity with the borough.
That too, yeah. There's a good inherent benefit. The dollar amount, yes, we could I agree that, you know, but I believe it's preferable to have it in-house.
So another question, so this kind of subjective thing of how much to pay them, I think really you and Michael, Susan, need to go back and determine, you know, X person does X amount of hours per week, this person does X amount of hours times 2, to come up with a number that's a little bit more objective than us just deciding arbitrarily, you know, 1,000 here, 1,000 there.
I mean, the planning board person spends significant hours to prep, planning boards do the copies, do this stuff. And I'm not going, I don't feel justified to go above that number. I don't think this is more hours than that, but I'd like to know.
We don't have an understanding of exactly how many hours or how much effort's got to go. We need a better understanding of that. And then we revisit this number.
But
That's
I
all
will
I'm
say,
suggesting.
my bigger concern is the fact that one employee has to help another employee to get the job done. I think that needs to be looked at. That in terms of management has to get worked out, because that's not fair to the employee helping.
Because,
to take on the
that
responsibilities of the other.
That employee is also being considered for a higher salary as well, so. And that has to do with more work that she's being tasked with.
But she's taking on someone else's work.
No, and that's my point.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Lauren, the way to think about this is that the work needs to be done. So there's a mandate to get it done. So you have to put it somewhere, and it belongs with the person who's doing the GIF work.
Correct.
So then what do you do? What does he do? He has to shift, like I do this all the time in my department. When I see someone has more time and somebody has less time, I shift the work around, because we're not civil service here. So we do have the capability to, as a department head, to shift work around, as long as it's not too far out of a title.
Could I suggest that we somehow table this?
I think
because
we've had enough.
we've got a $12 million budget.
And this issue to
Yeah,
death, we don't have
$3
enough
million
facts to make a decision.
I have to make one little change though in here, in the salary and stuff. I don't think the step up for
Can we go through line
the
item
person
by
is-
line item?
Okay, Michael,
Yeah.
take us through, next step.
Can we go to the other employee, who's the other?
Let's see what Michael's got next up.
That's,
You were
we're
good.
still in it, we're still in there.
You're ready.
Administrative assistant,
Go ahead.
was hired to answer phones, file papers, greet residents, now does, you know, all of the accounts payable for over $4 million, all of the tree permits, money taken in, escrows, all you guys get them every month, you know that. It's quite a bit of tracking. Actually threw some quick stuff in there to show exactly how much it's increased over the last few years, and the amounts taken in. That's something to keep in mind.
I have a question on this, and this is for both you and Susan. So in the description that you gave, for this is part-time clerical assistant.
No, was hired as a part-time clerical and became full-time in
now-
2018.
Sorry, full-time. There's a whole narrative in here about purchasing orders, and Susan's a qualified QPA. How does that work? Because we get Susan a stipend for the QPA stuff.
She's not acting as the QPA, which she's not the QPA, she's simply the accounts payable, but she handles.
But it says maintains all purchase orders for operating and capital for the department.
Yep, $4 million in operating and over $1 million in capital.
My question is, why isn't that Susan?
We have to
They
process
do the
it at our
requisitions.
level.
Okay, let me explain the difference here, because what I do is compliance. Okay, we look at the purchase orders to see if they're compliant with the competitive quotes, with whether we had to go out to bid, and we help and assist Mike's department in helping them to know what they're supposed to be doing. What Christine is doing is requisitioning these things.
Okay.
But they're going to be being tasked with more duty soon to eliminate paper, because now we're going to, instead of tasking the department with maintaining all the documentation, I'm moving towards a paperless environment where they're going to have to start putting the quotes into our financial system, and we review the quotes online.
Yep.
And there's mechanisms to do that. The work, because of the capital project increase over the years, is much more substantial than when I first started here. Our capital plan used to be $2.5 million. It's around 3.5. Last year, I think it was $4 million. I've gone down to the DPW to assess their documentation and their records, and they are extremely organized, and I don't have that many issues with how they present the requisitions. And I think that the compliance is good, and they ask for help when needed. But this is a huge amount of work that comes through my department from the DPW. And what Mike is saying about comparison of employees and their pay rates, over the last couple of years, I can tell you that, and I've been doing this stuff for a long time, that there isn't really a level playing field with some of the positions of their pay rates and what they perform. Some people are truly undercompensated for the work that they're performing. It's the truth compared to other employees.
So if I could just add just real quick, just as a frame of reference for like the requisition and purchase orders. So every department is responsible for submitting their own, and I submitted one yesterday. And just so you have an idea, for the beginning of March, we have over 900, probably around 950. So that's total purchase orders requisitions that have been submitted so far. So it's, it kind of funnels that way too, starting at the department level.
But when we contracted this person's position, that was part of her job description for the salary she agreed to? So when she moved to full-time, did we give her a new job description?
I doubt it, no. I wasn't here then, I can't tell you. None of us were. Oh.
We know we have to create these, make sure everybody has jobs.
I agree.
I mean, that's because she was hired, what year was she hired? I'm sorry,
2015 is part-time, 2018 is full-time.
2018 became full-time, and when she became full-time, did she know she was taking on all this stuff?
It came in pieces. It came, okay, well, we're taking this from the building department used to do tree permits.
Yeah.
It wasn't
you guys do.
being efficient, it came to us. And again, she's increased the complexities of it and made it much more easily tracked and profitable for the borough. All of it just comes, the recycling carts, okay? Yeah, we're doing this great recycling cart program. I said, okay, so what do I give you a list of my residents and you're going to give us a spreadsheet? And they say, no, you create the spreadsheet.
Right.
I have to go to my staff and say, here, make this happen.
Right.
And she does that. Now she continues tracking it. The efficiencies that she puts in, never says no, never has a problem doing the work. It's added value to the borough. And I just want to say, my staff down there, they do a fantastic job. I don't want to
You can
step
say
on toes.
staff.
They're doing a great job. Everything that every council member hands to me somehow trickles down to them, and they handle it with grace, and they do what they have to do, and we run pretty lean down there.
Jeff, hold on, Lauren.
No,
Jeff, then
Lauren.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so what we're looking at for each department is, what I'm looking at this year is the trends. Almost all of our departments are up $100,000 or $200,000 in salaries alone, and that's steps and stuff. And some of them are even more. Some of them have literally gone up $500,000.
What do you mean gone up $500,000?
It's below
5 years since I've been
2%.
here. I looked back at my old budget.
Oh, that's normal. Contractual obligation.
No, but it's a trajectory like this and not like this. And I understand they're going. But my point is that every time we raise and add employees, and every time we do this, we have to look at a bigger picture here. And so it's not just this employee's fantastic and that employee's fantastic. Thank goodness we have great people across the board. But if your department's going to go up in terms of salary, I need to come down either in terms of hiring or equipment or something else. We need an offset.
We're going down by not bringing on an additional employee to handle this work.
Well, I have.
In terms of the table of organization, I think in the past 5 years, we've added one new role, and that's the HR director. We haven't, the police department is actually, in the past 10 years, the number of police officers has gone down by 6.
No, we've added stuff to Susan's office.
Well,
and we've added stuff to admin here. We've added a part-time floater.
I think it's very important for something that I would like to say. First of all, there's been incredibly high turnover in this borough in the last few years.
Right.
Secondly, if you don't reward certain individuals and keep their salary somewhat competitive, and this person's salary is not competitive, you're going to lose valued employees to another borough, to another job, and the institutional knowledge is going to go right out the door.
But Susan, we're not a
But
private
let me tell you something else. The other thing is, in this borough, there's a problem. We're not in the corporate world, we're in the borough environment. So I have similar situations where I have individuals who are exceeding expectations and other individuals who just meet expectations. They're all going to get the same 2% raise. That's contractual. So if you don't reward someone, somehow, they're going to leave the borough, and then we start all over again, and there's a very high cost for that.
I just want to respond.
Go ahead, Vanu.
So the question then is, the question then is if she's getting an increase as an office assistant, does that mean that maybe she should have have a promotion to a different role, a different job title?
In this borough, you could change the title as well.
No, I mean so that it justifies
you have to change the ordinance and other things.
Right, but so that it justifies the higher salary. Because she's doing more responsibilities, and that takes her from an office assistant to an administrative assistant.
Yeah, well, you could. I just want you to know that my department is really suffering from all the new people in the borough. It's really difficult for us. We keep fixing mistakes, and we're bogged down.
None of that is
we
the
can't
point.
get our work done because we're bogged.
That's a
no,
different
but it's
issue.
not, because you lose another person who's a valued employee.
No, we're not trying to lose
you
another.
Will,
We're having a discussion on whether it makes sense. Okay, that's what the budgeting session is, to kind of understand what the circumstances are for the request.
So we want high quality work to come before us in the finance department, and there is high quality work coming out of the DPW office.
But we cannot, as a policy, every employee that does a good job cannot automatically get a salary increase. As a policy, we are a government. We have to have, if this is your job description, and this is what you were hired at under your contract, and this is what you are doing, this is your salary.
It needs to be competitive, though.
But unless we switch the jobs or the titles,
in terms of policy,
not give up salary increase.
We've got 6 union contracts here.
Right.
Regardless of anyone's performance, they get a raise every year.
That's right.
Right.
So
that's contractually
we're below.
Right.
But if you're having an increase,
I didn't finish my point. In other words, people covered by the collective bargaining agreements get raises based on the terms of the agreement. That's the deal, right? If you are not, and if you choose not to be part of the collective bargaining agreement or in a unionized environment, well, their salaries are calculated based on the perceived or objective value of the work they're doing, and not even their title.
But they have a contract, and the contract is a salary base. And
right.
they understand when they take the job that you're agreeing to that salary base.
Right, but if circumstances...
They have the right to leave if they don't think...
Right, if circumstances change, I mean, it's, in other words, right. The policy can't be, we're stuck in concrete no matter what we do, right?
I understand that, but I'm also not handing out salary raises in this
But
budget.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not.
no.
Across the board.
We're reevaluating this person's work.
We're reevaluating the person's situation.
You have to understand, through attrition is the best way in this borough to lower the salaries, through attrition. I can tell you that you have too many new people in the borough right now.
So understand,
There's
Susan,
too many.
understand the thing is, if you increase the salary here, what happens is if at some point she does leave, we're going to be basing the next employee on that increased salary.
No, you don't have to. You base them on the criteria of the job, the job performance, market rate, their expertise.
She gets a $7,000 raise as an admin assistant or full-time admin assistant. Now, every admin assistant in the borough wants a $7,000 raise.
Not true.
First of all, again, this is going to bring her into line with what other admins in the bargaining unit are making. There should
maybe
be
those shouldn't have been up that
her
high.
salary is lower than everyone else.
She's the lowest paid admin in the borough.
Right. So I have to agree. I don't disagree with the increase. I'm not saying that I disagree. I'm just saying I'm just saying that we have to understand the circumstances, and if it means changing the job title, consider that.
She is in the admin bargaining, so that would be, and I am 150% open to that discussion. The employee needs to be
vetted as well to make sure that that would be something that they
If
would
her
be willing to do.
responsibilities have changed enough so that it warrants a different,
Right.
It might
position.
fall within the range.
All right, so I've been listening to all this, and just two things I want to weigh in on. Number one, if there is no written job description,
There needs to be.
that's a problem.
That's
That
a
is a
problem.
problem.
That needs to
Every
be
year.
fixed.
Every
Every
time.
department.
Every
We
time.
Every
need to
department
fix that so that if we're going to increase it, I don't even have a basis of comparison to what was their job description to what is going to be their job
And what other
description.
people in the ad.
And what other, exactly,
Mhm.
to compare apples and oranges is not fair to employees. That's number one. Number two, while I understand, Susan, your department having to deal with a lot of turnover.
And state.
Well,
That's the problem.
let me just, I'm not going to sit there right now and say the turnover is because of salaries, given that every, not just public, but private place has had high turnover in the last 3 years due to COVID. It is universal. My school has had it, other schools I talk to, other municipalities have had it. So I don't think it's a fair comparison for the last 3 years to look at turnover rates as going up or anything. They have. They've gone up in private sector too. And I understand the problems it leads to. Offering more money the last 3 years would not have kept a lot of people who left in their jobs.
So respectfully,
Mhm.
I think because we're not in a corporate environment where a corporation gets a pool of money and can reward 2% to you, 4% to them, 6% to him, based on where they fall in their performance evaluations, we can't do that here. I have people that exceed expectations who maybe somebody else meets, and they're getting the same raise. So the only time we can reward is during the budget cycle. Otherwise, so where a corporation can reward based on that pool of money during performance, we can't do that here.
But we're not doing it
So
under our
we will
contract.
have people leave if their performance is not rewarded. And there is high turnover, but I think this borough needs to start looking at keeping valued employees.
But they're going to go to another borough that has the same contractual things. I've
Yeah.
seen teachers do
But
that.
at a higher, but they'll go if they don't
Sometimes
get
yes,
them.
sometimes no, but then 5 years from now, that borough will be facing the same issue of they can only increase them X number of dollars.
I've analyzed our budget for years. I've looked at this budget. In comparison to other boroughs, the amount of money and the amount of employees we have is exponentially higher than any of our neighbors.
How could you say that? Why do you say that?
Because we have more number of employees and we have higher salaries and higher starting salaries. When I go and look at other things, I look around, I look at Tresca, I look at Duman, I actually look at their budget. Not Duman, Demarest, I looked at, I'm just saying, people complain about our tax rate. Most of our money's not going into capital. Most of our money's going into salary and wage. And so I'm just saying, the way our employment agreements work and the way our unions work is that you negotiate a salary for your incoming job. When I do a good job as an attorney, I don't get more money that year. I have my set salary that I've contracted for. And maybe they give me a different way to acknowledge my efforts, but it doesn't automatically mean every year I get handed more money. And so unfortunately, or fortunately, we have contracts here. We have bargaining units. If this bargaining unit and this employee wants to come back as a unit and grieve her salary that is unfair or out of line in the salary contract, they may do that. But it doesn't mean we sit here as a borough and hand out additional salary raises.
But I'm sure
Jeff, please.
I'm sure you know as well as I do that maybe not in your firm, but there are lawyers who their bonuses are equal to what we're paying our employees for an entire year.
I understand that.
So how much money are we talking about with this one particular
So
person?
I want to add something. Do you know in this budget, we're only increasing salaries 1.7%?
In
Right.
your
Not even
department
2%.
alone, you went up $150,000.
I needed that.
Yeah, but if
We
the
can't even
number
get
is
our work done.
1.7, that's what the number
The
is.
1.7%, those are the
But next door it's 1, and the other place is 8.
1.7.
That's our tax rate. That's
But
our
it-
tax rate.
No.
1.7
It's
is
phenomenal.
the tax rate. Nothing, it doesn't matter if one department's 100% and one department is cut in half. At the end of the day, it's 1.7 increase. That's what we're talking about. how it gets spent almost
This
doesn't
isn't about
matter.
this particular
miraculous,
employee, this
but-
particular employee.
Right, so-
I'm not talking about this
How,
particular.
how is that possible when salaries in DPW have gone up 6.9%?
Because the other salaries have gone down. It's an offset.
This
This is what it is.
I understand offsets, I'm just saying, you know, we're talking-
Attrition, offsets, things like that.
Right.
But the other thing I want to add is this year, with the increase of the medical, some people will be coming home with less money after they get their raise.
And I,
That's
Hold
craziness.
on a second, Jimmy, go ahead, please.
Some of these contracts, not all of them, while there is some disparity in just the way it works, is that most of the employees will be at that 2%, while other contracts have 5 to 6% built into their steps.
Yeah,
A lot of these employees, including most of us at the table, aren't don't have that.
We don't, yeah.
You know, the starting salary, if, I'm not saying, and I'm not picking this employee, just in general, in this type of situation, I'm not saying, I would love to keep this employee, love to keep all the employees, but it would be hard pressed if that employee was, in this scenario, with that rate, what they're currently making, if they were to leave next week and we wanted to fill it, we'd be hard pressed to fill it at the same rate.
Talk about everything that's important.
I mean, keep in mind, you know, we're constantly negotiating labor contracts and voting on them, signing them, the whole 9 yards. And the labor contracts go up from 1.5% to 2%. So we can't even be surprised that the increase of salaries in a year of 1.7%, we agreed to that. We have been agreeing to
Right,
it.
so stick to it. So contractually stick to it. Why are we then adding $7,000 on top of it?
Well, that's one particular employee. Everyone's making general statements, so I'm making a general response.
Yes, but I'm saying we've negotiated for that. We've negotiated with the unions for that. We've negotiated with the employee groups
Because
for
the
that.
question is on the floor is whether or not the job has changed sufficiently to change the salary of the job. That's what it is. It's not about the person. You have enough.
Can I recommend that, you know, unless we want to keep Michael here for another 4 hours, that we somehow end the discussion in one way or the other and go on to the next
So
thing?
here's what I'd like. I'd like to see a job description for this employee in 2021. I'd like to see the job description in 2022. If it's justifiably a very different job, which I believe you think it is, and that's fine, then we come back as a different title, different job description.
Well, more than 2022,
It's not gonna be
anticipated
1 year.
2023.
That's fine, that's fine. But
So
I'm
go
saying-
ahead and put bullet points together, two
Yeah.
separate pages, and show what
Show
it
us
is.
how the job has changed from when she was
Don't
contractually
write,
hired.
war
And-
piece.
and-
Bullet points.
Yeah, it kind of,
You have the narrative.
We don't have what you
Okay.
used to do.
All right,
but
next
there
item.
should be job
Okay.
descriptions.
And
Next
job descriptions for every department, you know, have to be.
And then if we want to completely be a
Right.
And then you
manager
can
role.
pay her a stipend to write all the job descriptions.
So based on recent conversation, I will retract my recommendation for Mr. McCreary.
Yeah,
All right? Is that fair?
yes.
That would be a hard sell, yeah.
So, all right, moving forward. So operating basically building materials and supplies, we take our asphalt out of that majority of
Wait.
our,
Are we,
I'm sorry, can we go back to the vacancy, are we going back
Where are
to
we
the
going back?
vacancy? Before you go into the, can we go to the employee DPW salary and wages? I still see 4 vacancies. 2, 3.
I have 3 driver labor positions open currently.
Okay, so what's the status for that?
Nobody wants the job, not enough money.
Okay.
There you go. Starting salary is $40,000. And people with CDLs walk in the door at other towns, you know, no steps, walking in at top pay, making $55,000, $60,000 a year, depending where they go. And that's not every town. That's a kind of a blanket statement. But I'm having a hard time filling positions.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, you know, $40,000 a year is working minimum wage at Starbucks with some overtime
live
on
on that.
weekends. That's what we're up against.
So can I get some numbers? Can Jimmy and Michael give me some numbers, surrounding towns, what starting salary is, so we're not in the dark and we know how much we're off? I don't want to just do this on.
And if I may, also, we have within the contract flexibility with the council's approval to go up to step 3 for starting.
And what does that do? What goes from 40 to what?
I think
50,
55.
right?
50.
50.
We're just
Can't do
floating our
that.
budget
Almost
though.
50.
We are-
Say, what did you say, Susan?
You can do that, as
I
long
thought
as
you
it's
said
done
you
by,
can't.
no, by resolution, you can
Yeah,
start
with
at
the
step three.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Based on experience, et cetera.
or maybe,
We're imploding.
What?
We're imploding our budgets every
What do you
time
mean
we
we're
do.
imploding the budget?
There's a reason we started a low step. There's a reason.
Okay, and you're accomplishing that reason. You can't get bodies to fill it,
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
right?
I don't want to rehash everything. For 6 years, those numbers didn't change.
Right.
2 negotiations. The only people that got a raise were the ones at top step. So our lower end is very, very lacking. All right? I understand how you look at, everybody's at top pay. They're not all at top pay, number one. Number two, I've got 2 retirements coming up.
Okay.
Number 1 and number 2 employee in the DPW.
Are those the ones in step 11?
Yeah, you're gonna make, there's savings built into this. And Susan and I have discussed this, and I know it's a hot button topic, and I'm getting off topic, but longevity, terminal pay, vacations, sick time, everything has been chopped. The only thing that we have to dangle in front of people is money. It's the only thing, myself included. It's the way it is now.
And if I may, there was one candidate that was interested that we interviewed, and we didn't even bring it to the council because we were trying to understand where this candidate's salary request was to fall in line and to bring it to the council, and it would have fell in line with step 3. We felt that wasn't appropriate. Step 2 would have been more appropriate. That the candidate wouldn't have accepted that before even bringing it to the council. So at that point, we didn't even bring it to the council despite having the vacancies and the trouble of filling the positions. I probably sent, I don't know, over 20 resumes, and it's been difficult. We had the 1 or 2 bites, but then when it comes to it, it's at the end of it, it's what am I going to walk in the door making? In that scenario, and again, that's something we do try and combat, just to say, hey, is it worth it or not to bring it to the council in this instance? I mean, it would be nice to have it to fill one of the vacancies, but we honestly felt it wasn't appropriate.
I'd want to see what happens on a hiring, step 1. I want to compare to other towns in step 3. Then I want to see what everyone else is making in step 5.
Well, what goes on in
Step
Bergenfield?
5,
What's the starting salary of Bergenfield?
but I'm saying, I think if
They're
for 5
comparable to
years,
They're comparable to
Yeah,
us,
but less steps. I believe they're less.
so the salary goes up quicker.
Yeah.
Right.
but I think at step 5, we are competitive.
step 3.
Step 3, step 3, 4, 5, I think we become more
Could be
competitive,
good.
and I think we wind up paying better in the upper step. So there is incentive to come here. You will earn more money.
If you can come in
At 3.
with 3 years of experience and prove to me that you're not a big fish in a small pond, and that's exactly what we ran into. He's got 3 years' experience in DPW, in a very, very small department with very limited skills. I can't skip him over guys that have been here for 3 years or 2 years already,
another issue.
that I know have proven themselves and
Yeah.
done a good job.
Right.
You can't just say, oh, here, all right, I'm not giving everybody step 3. You gotta be able to,
So what's your
How does it work?
recommendation?
negotiation-wise, and I think the borough should think towards moving the salary rubric. The changes need to be made there at the low end. I'm not saying bang the high end, maybe reduce steps and change the rubric. I think that's what needs to be done in order to make us more, more attractive. Years ago, folks knocked down the door to come down here.
Because I'm going to repeat myself, so if we didn't change the top salary and didn't change the starting salary, but had less steps,
Reduce the steps.
the employees would make more money sooner.
Correct.
And
take
we
less
blow
time.
our budget sooner.
So,
So
I don't-
we
I
did
don't-
that on purpose,
Wait.
spread that.
I don't
I
think you
understand.
should reduce the steps. I think you should keep them
I'm
the same.
I'm just trying to understand what he's asking.
So I just want everybody to know that when I say something, it's not for the employee or for the borough. I think to do what's in the best interest of the borough and try to consider the employee, okay? To get a mutual thing, to avoid low productivity, increased sick time that goes with that, turnover, and all these things. There may be some cases, and you know this too, that Mike will come to me and ask me to talk about salary, and I'll say, no, it can't be this or it can't be that. I'm not pro anybody. What I have to look at is the budget, where we're going, where we're going to be in a few years, and try to weigh this, because there is a very high cost benefit if you lose valued employees or you can't get employees. You guys want critical services to be maintained in this borough. Your greatest asset is going to be your employees.
Yep.
So reward where you can. I'll say this, employees that go, but the ones you want to really keep, you need to make sure you keep.
There's other ways to keep them than salary.
Jeff?
So a few years ago, when we went through the exercise, and it started before you were here, of the recycling, and how we could get greater efficiencies in recycling with fewer people. It was money up front, but it freed up a lot of people to do other things. I guess part of my question is, what's the next thing we can do in your department to help drive greater efficiencies so that you're not facing this overwhelm feeling? I really want to find,
Jeff. That's a great question.
I really want ways to increase our efficiencies, and that's what we have to look for as well. It's not even a question of putting more on each person's shoulder, because the recycling we didn't put more on. We took off of shoulders. We reduced injuries. What's the next thing? And I don't expect an answer right
Well,
now.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, no, I don't, but I really want you to think about it so that we can have a discussion of how to help alleviate the burden. That's really what the goal of greater efficiency is alleviation of burden.
So let me ask a question to that. The first thing that pops into my mind, large scale, leaves. In other words, could we deal with the leaves differently? Instead of us picking them up, have the garbage company pick them up. Or if we continue to pick them up, pull them off site immediately rather than keep them here. Is there something in that world? And again, don't answer the question here, right? Right.
That's one I can answer, though.
Go ahead. Okay, then answer it.
You wanted to go townwide, tell all the residents that they either keep their own leaves or they bag them, and we have the garbage man pick them up.
Yeah.
Garbage man's going to have to get compensated. That's going
Garbage
to
men will have to get compensated.
Right, that's going to be a huge ask.
Right.
Asking residents with these 1 acre plus properties to bag their leaves,
Never have.
they'll be here with pitchforks and torches.
Right, right.
As far as what it costs the borough to get rid of the leaves, nobody has it as good as we do. Nobody.
Because we have our own location.
And the agreements that we make,
Yeah.
it all gets carted off site at no charge.
Yeah.
On that,
Not no charge,
just to
minimum.
follow up to the mayor's, on that, since we do keep them on site and then put cost reduction, is that also a time reduction that, because if guys have to go elsewhere to dump the leaves, isn't that going to slow down our leaf collection?
There's nowhere to take them. There's nowhere to take them. We would need, and this goes back to if borough was going to say, okay, we want to do away with the leaf composting site. Take that away, we still need a staging area. We need somewhere, minimum acre and a half, could be 2 acres, just to hold them, to hire somebody to come and pick them out. We don't have any other locations in town.
I mean, I don't think this is the conversation, but you know, and Mike, you know way better than I do. The whatever 525 towns in this state, they don't all have an acre and a half land that they're using for a staging site. There's got to be a place, and again, I have no clue. Actually, I can't even name another city that I could think of that, you know. So everyone has leaves, right? So what are the other towns doing? What are the 500? And it's a rhetorical question. I don't think we should be discussing here, but I just can't believe that every town has an acre and a half that they're staging leaves with. But you know better than I do.
Teaneck uses, next to their swim club, they use a temporary site, which is monitored by DEP in the county. They have to clean it up every year. And same thing, again, they stage the area, they hire a contractor to come in with trucks and loaders, load them out. They're supposed to clean it out. They never hold the contract up. They're supposed to empty it out every week. They never do. You're lucky if you get it once a month. And it's a temporary permit. But again, you need that site. We don't have that site in town. Everything in town is green acres. You can't do any of this work on green acre site.
I think Jeff's question is the right one, and it has nothing to do with it's for Mike. It's for every department lead. That is the only way, and I feel like we say this every year. That is the only way to solve. There's inflation. Everybody's salaries go up. It's called inflation. Union, non-union. The only way to do things is do things smarter. First question that the mayor said 2-3 hours ago, what are we doing with technology? If you're doing the same things over and over again in this town, costs will only go up. So I think we just have to ask the departments to think of those things. That's the only way to manage budgets, full stop.
Right.
I have a different question. I want to hear what's happening with the foreman, the general foreman, your second in command.
We're waiting to settle with the foreman because there's questions in the general foreman's job description that are going to hinge on the agreement with the foreman. So the foreman needs to get ironed out first, and then we are ready to hit the ground running. Jimmy will advertise it, and we'll start interviewing as soon as possible. That, I don't anticipate having a problem filling that vacancy. That's one where a lot of people,
Want it?
yeah, a lot of qualified individuals will put in for that, I think, from the outside.
Okay.
I don't see that being a problem, but in the meantime, again, I'm almost here 3 years now, and
I mean, I think we approved that last budget, yeah.
yep, and we have not been able to
So
put
the
it
general
together.
foreman position, his second in command, has not been filled. And that might also help alleviate or create.
But we eliminated that role.
No, we didn't.
No, no.
We added that.
Brought it- Oh, we add-
That's
okay,
the other
not the-
job.
not the other one.
That's the
2020
general
and
foreman,
brought
you're
it
calling
back.
it a different name.
What is the, I'm sorry,
It was the general foreman
No,
slash
it's gonna be-
supervisor.
what are we calling it?
We're calling it
Assistant-
it's supervisor.
Supervisor, yeah.
Okay,
That will be the
supervisor.
And again, once that other contract is settled, we'll be able to move forward with that.
Right, you can't do that yet.
Right.
We need to get answers on the other one first.
Because will that create efficiencies for you and your workforce?
That will help me personally, and not to be selfish, but it's gonna cut my hours from 55 to 60 down to hopefully 35, 40.
I mean, that was our goal for you, is that you are less required to be at every single site and more able to be on managerial side, looking at the big picture, and that goes to Jeff and Adam's point.
Exactly, and answering those kinds of questions that,
Right.
efficiencies, eliminate redundancies, whatever we need to do, yeah, those would be great things that I could look into, but right now, I'm day to day, half time, I plow snow.
I know.
We do what we have to do, and again, that's where it goes back to, I hate to bring it back, but that goes to where the people are what matters here.
Okay.
It shouldn't be transactional, it should be, we care about you, let's see what we can do.
So my policy on the budget isn't any particular person or any quality of work. I believe your
I-
staff is outstanding, you
I
know
know.
that. I'm saying this across the way, across the board, to every department.
So,
Okay.
but we can definitely look into, what the next, open to suggestions from, but automation with the recycling, that was kind of an easy one. You go from having 3 guys on the back of the truck, now you have 1 guy. Yes, you put a huge investment in it, but I think it's the smartest move that you could do.
Is there anything else like that on the market that's coming?
Just,
For leaves, snow,
No,
potholes?
the stuff for leaves is not, the way we pick up leaves, again, the way we pick up leaves is the way to do it. It's the fastest, most efficient way you can do it.
Would it be worthwhile to buy a pothole filler vehicle?
No.
No, wouldn't, right?
No, for,
They have more trouble than
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
I've seen on them.
they run into trouble.
Right.
When I.
They're almost too complicated for what they're trying to accomplish.
It is, and the cleaning it out, if you don't
Yeah.
do it right one
You
day.
need to use it
you're in
every
trouble.
single day and clean it every single day.
We actually leased one when I was in Teaneck, and it was a disaster.
Right.
The Kazi ever read?
Say again?
The Kazi?
It might have been.
Yeah.
The OZI,
think-
yeah, it might have been.
I remember.
All right, who has other questions for Michael?
So we go to sorry, now let's go to the rest of the budget.
Wait, can we talk, before we go to the rest of the budget, you had all this stuff about tree permit,
Oh, yeah, that was great, by the way.
tree removal permits.
Terrified.
Okay.
Terrifying, yeah, I think that's the right way to put it. All of a sudden, tree bonds forfeited to borough, 103,000?
And as the development started, because of COVID, they weren't able to build the houses, so then, that was one of the COs, right?
But,
You had told me that,
Check it with the
Mike,
audit.
that COs get actually, given, and then we get the bond forfeited, right?
It depends. I mean, some, again, we had this discussion at Tuesday night.
Right.
Some folks just don't want
to deal with it.
do it their own way. They want what they want. And their pocketbook
The
determines
fees
whether
are
or not
too
they're-
low relative to the benefit they get. That's straight, it's easy math.
Right, yeah, you spend $3 million on your house, you want it to look where you want it to look. You want to be told that you have to plant it.
You've also captured a lot of historical, forfeitures. So that's showing up in this year's.
So here's my actual question, because I know the number of permits issued each year is in the few hundred.
Mm-hmm.
And you are the one who looks at each and every
Correct.
permit and visits and all that. Dollar for dollar. You do a great job on those visits, but dollar for dollar, is this the most efficient way to handle tree permits? I mean, we're taking our highest paid DPW person to go look at trees.
So we have a tree foreman. We don't have a
And so my question is there another way we can handle this? Because I get a sense that this eats up a lot of your time, and I do talk to different guys out there who deal with taking down the trees, and they get frustrated because you can't do this the next day after you get the application.
Right, there's a 10 to 14 business day wait.
Right.
We keep that, summertime it goes up to 14 days.
Right, so I guess the
mentioned
question is
this
how
the
we
other
can
night.
do this better.
You want to make changes to the trees, to the tree removal permit, to how it's done. I'm 150% behind it, but if it's going to increase in any way, shape, or form, you need to hire somebody else. I can't. You're going to need a licensed tree expert, because you need somebody that's knowledgeable. You can't just, go out there and fly by the seat of your pants.
Is our tree foreperson
He's an
knowledgeable?
ISA certified arborist, but again, this goes back to last year's budget discussion, where, okay, if I take him for 15 or 20 hours.
Go to backhill, fill him.
Who's doing his work for 15, 20 hours a week?
But who's doing your work? I mean,
Me. That's why I said it's a catch-22. I don't want
He's
to.
working 60 hours a week.
So what is
right,
the other
but
work
the other, at least dollar for dollar, the amount of time spent looking at the permits may be a better.
Yeah, so other towns use an outside contractor. You get
Yeah,
a
but
licensed
how
tree
much
expert
would
that-
it cost for
I've never
hundreds
looked
and
into it.
hundreds?
I've never looked into it.
So,
Yeah.
so I know that we cut branches and we pull back stuff. What else does the tree expert, the arborist, do in town? 'Cause-
My tree foreman,
Mhm.
he's a working foreman. They're all working foremen. He's actually on the crew working.
Okay.
He's there making sure safety's followed,
Yeah. How many people
continuity.
are on our tree crew then?
I have 3 right now. That's the foreman.
Yeah,
And
and
2
two
driver
guys who
laborers.
do the
Right.
cutting and the,
How many days a week are they actually cutting?
Right now, not as much. We're grinding stumps and stuff because I don't have a tree truck. So if I go out and rent the truck for another $5,800, and I'm in a dogfight with the company. It's been 2
You want
years.
to share your experience?
It's been 2
yeah,
years.
it's like I thought didn't we rent that for like 3 months at a time or something?
While we're purchasing one, our own.
We have a purchase that's been out for 2 years.
All right, so let me rephrase this. If they're right now only able to grind stumps,
Mhm.
how many stumps a month are we grinding?
I'd have to go back and here's the other thing, my tree foreman, he's been out since November.
Yeah.
Got a new knee.
Right.
Between-
knew
between
right.
vacation, yeah, so-
We've been talking about, he's been down a very essential situation for a very long time.
Yeah, when you have, you have 3 people on a team, if one person's out,
And-
a third of your workforce is gone.
Well, I'm just looking at it as if we're not able to do a lot of work without a truck, maybe someone can pick up, but if no one else is certified, right, in that team.
And that's not a
Yeah.
seasonal worker
Yeah, I'm not gonna
hire.
ask one of my driver laborers to go out and meet with a resident on a $3 million property and tell them what they can do with their
Right.
trees.
And
This is the problem.
that's not a seasonal worker we could help go in temporarily.
No,
and
seasonal,
stuff like that.
no, it's, again,
I'm
it
just
works the way it
saying,
is.
until your guy
We
comes
could go out,
back.
we could go out every single day and do tree work. There's plenty of stuff that's not getting done right now that we're gonna have to play catch-up on. But it all comes down to having the equipment.
I am glad you
All right.
said it, because I just did want the council to understand, like, since November, so now we're in March, it's a major hole in your actual.
Thank goodness it hasn't.
All right, we've got
Oh, yeah.
15 minutes left of Michael's time here.
Oh, no.
That's all he's got left here is 15 minutes.
Well, he's gonna come back because we got all the capital to go through. You want to start at the cap? Oh, can I just very quickly, can we get rid of the geese police? Why are we?
Actually, no, because if you notice, the geese are back, so I actually just authorized them to start,
Right.
so,
This is one with the dogs.
yeah, dogs.
I
And
disagree
they'll
so
addle-
much with that. They
they'll
come
addle
right
the
back the second the dogs
stores.
leave. Okay, can we
All
go
right.
to capital then?
So Michael, what's next? We're gonna look at capital, what are we looking at?
Again, yeah, we're getting out of,
What do you want to
my,
You have a question?
we're gonna,
Wait, I
The
have,
recycling
before we
program.
get to,
Okay, go ahead.
line,
Jeff.
you know, still, before we get to capital, I had a note here for myself. It's small.
We're gonna
I
need,
get
we need
to
more
it.
time with DPW.
Then we'll have to schedule more time, because we've got to stay on time today.
Oh.
There's an open vacancy in the custodial staff. Do you want to?
Wait, before we get, because that's the next grouping, right?
Yeah.
I want just one quick question, Mike. Well, probably more than one, but when we talk about the Richard Street pumping station, the ask is $37,000. I understand costs vary on that, but the 5-year average was between 26 and 27,000. So why do we anticipate a $10,000 bump in what we spent last year? That's pretty
That's what page,
significant.
I'm sorry.
That's
83.
page
Oh,
19 at the bottom, if you look at the lower right. That's the Richard Street pumping station.
And I had a question on the rose garden, but
Well, that's, the next thing is the Rose Garden. We need to just look at how to get more money for the trust fund for that, which was.
I'm not clear on this Richard Street question.
So what I'm looking at is, last year, we budgeted 37, we spent 27.
Oh, okay, all right.
This year, we're budgeting 37 again, but if you take the actual spending over 5 years, the 25, 11, 41, our average has been between 26 and 27.
that number's gonna drop. A bunch of that is for the, rental of the generator, the standby generator that's being replaced. So there's some cost in there from that.
So last year it was 27,000. Why is it 37,000?
That's my question.
In other words, you paid for that out of the 27,000. Why is it going up 10,000? That's the question.
In case it turns into a 41,000 like in 2020?
That's the question, though, right? So,
That's why I'm looking at it as the 5-year average was 26 to 27.
But I like, I get you, it's better to be
I
prepared.
think that was the rental of the generator.
Get 10K.
I don't know, but can it go down, you think?
If they can deliver the new generator.
Right, exactly.
Earlier, but again, the wait was, how many weeks was he? He was,
so what's the schedule for the new generator? So you think you're gonna spend more this year than last year?
or that we could spend more.
we could,
We could.
if it goes.
Keep it, because that thing is, I don't wanna mess around with that. That was a
Yeah,
secret.
we know we can't.
Unless you could follow up and see why you think you're gonna get
See,
it.
if we got rid of the geese police, we could move the money there.
Mm-hmm.
That's $9,000.
Services are services. If we did away with the sewers, we'd save a lot of money. Not gonna go over well.
Culvert.
Right.
You're not making me laugh.
Pack 'em in with dirt. But the thing, the geese police waste of money.
Go ahead.
I'd like to revisit that, I'm gonna.
You're gonna
look
revisit
into
that?
yeah.
Okay.
I'd appreciate it. It's small, but if you could, also, this is more for the council. We need to find a way to get that fund built back up for Davis Johnson, because if you notice, in the past, it was zero, then the fund to beautify the gardens and make the rose gardens what they are, but that depleted everything, right?
I don't know if anybody has any friends in the flower business, but that price is going up almost 10%.
All right, so someone had a question about Davis Johnson, or was that
That
the
was
question?
it, that's it. I did.
There's,
Okay.
it's in motion to redo the fee schedule. That'll include a little thing to go into the trust fund every time you rent that room.
Okay.
This is
Oh, that's good.
not, this is gonna be like a discussion, but does anyone wanna put any money, like 10,000 from open space into the rose garden? And offset it on the budget here? 10 or 20?
I think it might be good if we could proactively raise donations.
Yes, but it's not gonna happen before we actually spend the money at the.
Yeah, that's a good point also, but Lauren is raising a separate question, but.
Instead of putting it in capital or in operating, we take it in open space, it's a green space, it's appropriate.
So Lauren, I think it is appropriate. I think it's a good suggestion. My only fear is that we're going to next year look at, so we didn't raise money, let's go into green.
No, I'm saying we need to
No.
raise money.
But I think there's a
completely agree.
disincentive unless we put some pressure on ourselves, and that takes the pressure off. I think it's a great suggestion,
The
but.
operating.
Maybe we hold a fundraising party at Davis Johnson Park.
We should. And the garden club, Mr. Gilbert can.
All right.
The
Question.
31 will cover.
DPW questions.
31.
Yes, okay, I have lots of DPW questions, so. I'm sorry, I asked about the open custodian vacancy.
And then Benu.
Are we
What's the question about the open custodian?
advertising that, are we selling it, what?
Isn't that the power time or?
What?
No, that's zero.
I'm sorry, now
No,
I
I-
can't find my page, I lost it.
We're not filling it. We're not filling
Doesn't
it.
what?
We're not filling that role, Michael?
We're
It just
looking
says-
for one
Are
for,
you? Well,
for
What
the,
page? I lost it.
emergency services end of the building.
Page
What
are
does
you
that
on,
mean?
Lauren?
What do you mean?
I don't know, now I lost it.
Oh.
I didn't put it in for part-time?
It's in there, I know it's in there.
Full-time
'cause I
position.
have it.
Okay, all right, one at a time.
Oh, I'm confused about that, yes, it's happening.
Page 26. If anyone-
Hmm.
It was vacancy part-time custodian, I was wanting to know what.
But I didn't
we
put
were
anything
interested
in that, so maybe, is that something that you were doing?
Yeah, well, I thought we had discussed it, but, and,
Is it in
I
your
want, yeah, I
budget?
wasn't gonna, originally I wanted the chief to put it in his budget, because it's for his building,
Yeah,
but
okay.
he didn't want to put it in there, so I thought it was in mine. We
Did you
discussed
say to put it in?
it. I thought we had discussed it.
No, I mean, was it in?
It did now, page 26, it says like.
No, it's not.
Oh,
No,
I'm sorry,
there's
yeah,
zero,
it has
there's
no,
no, yeah, there's no money
it
in
has
it.
no salary attached, which is why I'm asking the question.
Okay, so
Are we
It may be,
interested?
it may be a moot
discuss-
point, it may be a moot point if this, if
you're
it's not in there as
interested.
an ask, then
What I'm saying is that you're
You
at,
need it.
yeah,
I'm paying guys overtime to clean the police department.
right.
So, I don't know
Efficiently,
where,
you know.
I think it should go in your budget, if it's gonna be.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there was, the history behind it was, at one point, I guess, Lizette had
The
been here
senior
and had
center.
suggested to the chief to put it in his budget.
Oh.
And my building maintenance supervisor keeps putting that back in my ear, saying, well, it's supposed to be in their budget, it's supposed to be in their budget, but the chief said, I think it should be in your budget, so.
Where's the
yeah,
senior
my-
center? One.
The senior center has a
we-
line
we-
item
We
in
hire
there.
that out, the senior centers through,
Through them, they're
Yeah,
hiring
well-
it out.
yeah, they do the DPW and the senior center.
Mhm.
We pay a contract, an outside contract.
We usually have our custodians do the municipal complex,
Yeah,
so
and
that's
especially the police department,
the police
because
department,
and you don't have to worry about giving people
No.
access
Access.
to keys,
Right.
fingerprinting.
We want to keep that in town,
Yeah.
it would.
That's what
So-
he's saying, but now.
I don't know, but it's in there, so I'm asking
Well,
someone
I'm
make
You want that?
decisions.
about something.
Do you want it, you don't
Who's
want
been
it?
maintaining the police department?
Joe.
Overtime.
Oh,
Joe's got
oh,
on
okay.
over, Captain DiMarcata put in some requests that there was
You do it again.
Oh, okay.
deficiencies, so we want to take that away. We're paying guys right now overtime to take care of those deficiencies. It's very hard for that staff to do this entire complex.
No, that's why I'm asking, so Susan, can you find out how much we're paying in overtime, and what a salary rate would be for it says part-time custodian, can we just get those numbers and make a smart
Again,
decision?
I'll revisit, again, any questions that I can't answer right now, we'll revisit, so.
All
I'll
right.
touch
Yes,
base.
go ahead, Benu.
On page 16, maintenance and repair, it's in there for 30,000. Except for 2019, we've never had that kind of amount. I'm suggesting that we bring it down to either 15 or 20,000.
I'd like to keep that 30, because you never know what's gonna happen.
Well, that's always true with anything, but that's why we can do transfers, page 16. We can always do transfers into it if necessary.
Right, but that money stays at the transfer for something else. It's like an emergency fund.
Whose budget is that in?
This is page 16, it's the street.
I just want, yeah,
the
streets and
street,
maintenance, okay. So, well, and goes to Dan's point, is I have a truck right now that's out, $15,000 for the transmission.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of these different maintenance and repair type accounts.
Yes, we do, and we do pull from each one.
So there's an auto one, there's a, so there's
Right, we
different.
try and,
Right, so what I'm saying is, in this case, the things
we
that are
didn't hit it
allocated
last
to
year,
this.
is what you're saying.
Not just last year, but even 2021, 2020, I mean, the trend has been that we're not spending that kind of money. So I'm wondering if we can bring it down to 15 or 20.
I'd rather just pay for
2019.
just consider the last few years lucky. instead of unloading.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying we have other, other accounts. There's the maintenance of motor vehicles. There's a number of different accounts that do sort of the same thing.
How much did we go over in those?
And then while you're thinking about that, another one, other contractual items. It includes an upgrade to the Christmas Spectacular. How much was it before? Now it's 25,000, which I think is a lot of money.
Christmas Spectacular is somewhere in the, Jimmy, $6,000 to $7,000 range currently.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why do we need to upgrade
That's
that?
not my
This-
ask.
Oh,
This was a big ask. I thought it was a little more than that. I thought it was closer to 10, Jimmy, but you know better. This was an ask from the team. Right now, we know the lights don't all get up. They're not all working. We have to upgrade that.
If I could add to that, Adam,
Yes.
just to clarify,
Sure.
so what happens is we pay each year for the install and storage of the lights. So that fee alone is about $7,000 is for they'll come in, install it, take it down, and store it. But those lights we own, so we want to purchase that for a one-time fee. So now what is being proposed is to purchase new lights to replace those just because of age and so on and so forth. So I believe it was around $20,000 or so for the estimate for the purchase to replace those lights, and then the yearly cost would still be in the roughly $7,000 range.
Right. The
Yeah,
annual
I think-
cost doesn't change. It's just upgrading the lights. And then ongoing, it doesn't change.
Well, it's more than a request. It's being put in the budget, so if people don't see it or understand it, they'll just kind of agree to it. So does everybody agree that we should go from a $7,000 to $25,000? It's a $20,000 increase.
It's 25,000.
No.
It's
No,
7,000
again-
is staying.
It's staying the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so 5,000. Why are we doing a $25,000?
So this was for the months that are like November through February. It's an entire lighting of the downtown. It's holiday display, it's winter display, it's lighting. It's supposed to be, to help the downtown feel sort of less dreary over the winter. And it's done
Help the
professionally.
businesses, help the residents, yes.
Right now, we are tasking Mike's crew with overtime and a lot of work to get the lighting and everything done. This is put up and taken down, by a professional company once, stays up for a couple months, it comes down. It takes some heat off of Michael and his staff for overtime.
So again, Jeff and Julie were maybe not here for the question, but there's an increase. There's an upgrade to Christmas Spectacular.
Yeah.
25,000. Are we, as a council, do we agree with this? I mean, I think it's a little high, but what does everybody else think?
I think people love a lively downtown.
No, we love it.
Right.
I'm not saying we don't. I'm saying, but all of a sudden, there's this $25,000 increase that we've got, and we never had a chance to discuss it. But 25,000 is
And honestly-
more significant than 7,000.
Honestly, from what I see, this is a difference between Tenafly and a lot of other towns around. The businesses in the downtown are willing to help contribute towards decorating the downtown, which benefits them, and we don't have that.
Well, we have a new Chamber of Commerce, so we can task them with, decorating the store windows this year. But this
No,
is,
but I'm
this
even,
is a
no, but I'm
purchase.
talking about, even contributing to the overall, not just their store windows. When you
Yeah.
look at other towns, that
What?
businesses are much more willing to put into that, and they don't here. So
I think the.
unless
I
that
don't know.
changes, we're
maybe
gonna
it could
keep
be.
paying the
It's about
increases and
useful
the
lights
whole
and all that
budget.
other stuff.
Well, this is a
How old are
purchase
the old
of
lights?
this is a
What?
purchase.
How
We
old are the
own
old
this.
lights?
It's a one-time purchase. We own it.
All right, so,
That might
I
be
understand
a
that.
Okay,
So-
one at
so-
a time here, because I can't
Right.
figure out who's talking.
So here,
Might be installation.
this becomes the problem, and that's what I was gonna say, is everything we purchase, everything we add to DPW, we can't then turn around and say, where are you cutting? Because we're the ones adding to their task and
Yeah,
responsibility.
just to clarify, Jeff, and please, Jimmy, please confirm, this is not DPW. The whole idea, and Jeff, exactly to your point, this is for all intents and purposes, completely 100% outsourcing. which is something I'm very passionate about. So the DPW doesn't have to install these. They don't have, that's the whole idea of outsourcing to someone else.
Right, but the outsourcing, Adam, is our tax dollars, right? It's still
absolutely.
tax dollars.
Oh, no, without a doubt.
Paying
When was
to
the last
install it.
time, Jimmy, when was the last time we invested in this lighting? Like when was the last time we bought lighting for the downtown?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I could look that up.
But it's only 2 or 3 years ago we did a major upgrade to the electric for
The last few years.
a lot of money to make sure that we could do this, and I understand that's an investment towards doing this. But again, whether we pay our own employees or whether we pay outside employees, that's still our taxpayer dollars going towards.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Right?
I was just referring to your rightful question that we don't want to make DPW do more work. Your specific question was, we're adding more to DPW's work. I was just clarifying for you that this doesn't add anything to DPW's work. And exactly, I like your point. We invested a couple of years ago. Like, I would think it's 5 years, 10 years since we last upgraded the lighting based on my assessment. To your point though, Jeff, we invested a couple of years ago on upgrading the power so we can do something with that. I would surmise that if we've invested the money to make it available, to not do anything with it now 2 years ago or whenever those would be inefficient, right?
Last time we spent was about $60K on the lights.
That was to get the little lights on Railroad in Washington, the trees lit up. We redid the electrical. Michael and his crew very painstakingly wrapped the trees. Now they're all lit up. But this is like a bigger, more festive, for the whole winter concept. This is
clarity.
Yes, go ahead.
Is this to own the lights or to increase the service of what they're doing?
We
No, to own it. To own it. This is a one-time investment. That's why it's,
This is operating, not capital.
I'll have to find out.
And why is it under contractual items? I mean, it's.
Well, that is contractual.
But if we're buying the light.
Yeah, if it's a one-time purchase, then that shouldn't be.
It's a one-time, but then they maintain them. They put them up, they take them down, they store them for
Right.
a
I'll
year.
have to
We
look
don't have to
into
touch
the
them.
So it is ongoing. It's not one time.
No, it'll be ongoing.
So it's ongoing as we.
But wait,
It's the same $7,000 every year. The annual increase does not go up.
Right, the annual increase stays the same.
If I could clarify, so each year we spend, and there's a minor increase, whatever, 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever it is, for the service. The service loan is about, I'm just gonna round up, between $6,000 and $7,000, so I'll use $7,000. The service we pay for $7,000 each year is for the install and takedown and storage of the lights that we own.
Correct.
So the ones that we own were purchased, whatever, one-time fee, however many years ago. So the increase to the line for the ask is to purchase new lights, to update them, to replace these lights. And then the ongoing service of the 7,000 would still exist.
Okay, that makes it nice and clear.
Yeah, it would just be a one-time, the
So
one-time
I think
purchase
the
for the new
breakdown
lights.
of the
Yeah, correct.
installation, the contractual part versus the purchase part is a critical
Yes,
breakdown.
100%.
And Sue, what'd you say about the capital? If it can go
I
capital?
have to find out because it's a little gray.
So the contractual part is how much?
7,000.
So yearly, it'll be 7,000.
Correct. I mean, look,
But we pay
1 to 2%
overtime, remember,
increase,
we pay overtime now.
No,
Takes it out of.
I get
Yes,
that.
Julie.
I know we're moving to the last part, so I was wondering if perhaps we could tell our Chamber of Commerce liaison over there, maybe we could think in terms of having a fund set up where the businesses can contribute to, if we know what an annual fee is, or no? You're shaking your head, Jimmy, no?
well, I mean, probably the formal way would be through a business improvement district.
We've tried that already.
Which just for the record, I'm actually, now that we have a new chamber, I'm actually a big proponent of it. I think we have to figure out, I don't want to call it a business improvement district, but I want to figure out a way to create a fund like you're just saying, Julie. That is and I've spoken about it before, I'm a big believer in doing that. It failed miserably the last time it was done X years ago. But I believe it was just done poorly, and I think we could be a little smarter and do it successfully. it's gonna take a little time.
Okay. That's for later.
So,
We have a lot of capital.
going back to the 30,000, can we bring it down to 15?
What?
The maintenance and repairs, there
maintenance
was
and
no
repair.
answer.
I would recommend we don't. Things break.
I would just keep it, because I feel like things break all the time.
Yeah, but we have other options. You know, this is true with everything. Like if we have a deficit in something or we overspend, we have the ability to move money in.
Next year at surplus.
You know, but this.
If we get lucky,
At the very
we'll have
top of
surplus.
16.
We get unlucky, we'll have
No, I get that, but you know, we're looking at the budget for this year, and we're trying to
First line.
Trim.
to make sure that we have an appropriate budget, not an overinflated budget.
And it's never,
But on the
the
balance
highest
end,
it's
we
ever
also have
come
to
close
operate.
to is
We
20.
need to be prepared for the
But-
year.
Well,
On the
of
same-
course.
On the same logic, yes.
The
we
highest
shouldn't-
we've ever
shouldn't
come
be
close to
50K.
is 20.
So it's a fair number.
Right, well, I'm saying it's not, in my mind, it's not a fair number because it's not reflective of the reality of the past 5 years.
So, Michael, can you reconsider that number?
Yep.
Okay.
Can we go to the capital,
So,
because I have 1,000
before
questions.
Hold on.
I need a number because I make notes.
Can we say
25.
15?
What are we talking, we're talking about the same thing?
Page
Yeah.
16.
It's
So,
been
Michael, Michael, what number do you want in there? That's less than 30.
Move the conversation, I would say 15.
$15,000, please.
Yeah.
Can we start talking about the temp cap and the big cap with Michael?
Okay, so we're done with the DPW conversation.
No, we didn't do any of the capital yet.
Well, wait a minute, we're done with the DPW part of the operating budget, right?
Yeah, now we gotta do capital.
Now we're gonna go to capital, and we'll start, because Michael happens to be here, and nobody else is, we'll start with DPW.
Why is everything so
So
old?
one thing on the temporary capital, just so you know, and I'll give these to you, I thought I printed them out. There's, I don't think yours sums administration, I just want you to know it's $30,000. You know, Michael cut.
Team, did I lose you?
Yeah.
Hello, team? Hello?
No, we didn't zero it out. Okay, I need to talk about capital. I'm gonna go get this for everybody to look at. I prepared 3 ordinances March 21st. And I really need this body to decide if those 3 ordinances are gonna, if you want some of these done earlier than when the regular.
What are the items?
They're all open space items, except for the debt that will incur within the.
The 3 items.
Can I go get my folder?
Of course, go ahead.
Yeah.
Can someone just, while we wait for Susan,
I
just,
know
We're gonna wait.
just a quick question on the temporary budget. The Nature Center, what's the $50,000 for?
Take one break while we're waiting for Susan.
Guys, do you still hear me? Hello?
I know at least.
These are definitely side because it's part of the contract. It says specifically in it.
Alan?
Okay.
Adam, are you still there?
That was great. I didn't have.
Where to find it, the phone slipped off.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, do you hear me?
But Andy's got to
We should give this benefit.
Oh, yeah.
Guys,
Guys, you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you.
We're just taking a 2-minute break.
And of course,
Because
now we lost
otherwise,
That's fine.
HR budget
things are
for
flooded.
our original HR director.
The structure, they've
Yeah.
been going back.
Yeah.
Notre Dame and
I think
also,
Susan did, right?
You know, the church and.
The point is, we recognize.
I don't know
but we've been
Amanda had
trying
mentioned
now
that.
So both of
make it
them,
So when I say I want to see a
This is
comparison,
just a smaller
I should
scale,
be beneficial.
What'd you say?
Because I wasn't in the meeting.
I said, 3-minute break. So we'll be ready to get started in a few
What's
seconds.
the workload and blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
The outside looks fine, but the inside and all
You
the
start it.
ceilings and ultimately the roof collapse.
We need job descriptions.
And for years, we could lose in about.
Oh, it's been a crazy 3 years. You're not the only one who has that.
That's our director down. They just accepted, it was pretty high, and full responsibility, and there was no check or balance.
When I had the,
All right, Omar, you want to gather everyone?
Oh, you were high.
And, yeah, the fellow that,
administration guy come out.
But very importantly, though, I really want to give you your,
Yeah, yeah.
well, I mean, it's budgeted, it's just a fact.
I think it's budgeted fairly, yeah?
Yeah.
Competitively, or?
Yeah, like I said, I don't think I'm gonna have an issue filling that
We
position.
need to get that filled. At this point, I thought we were already underway on that.
All the budgets.
Okay, Omar, let's get back here.
And you can't do it simultaneously with the fourth.
Guys, let's get started.
No.
Okay, Susan, you're back? Okay, guys. Our CFO is back, let's get restarted.
Okay. Oh, wait. Where's my pencil? I need my pencil.
That's the original.
Thank you. Oh, can we pass this around?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. Oh, did you see my pencil?
Um,
Oh, here it is. I have it.
This is from Susan? Okay. All right, Susan's got a new handout for everyone.
It's only for a short period of
It's
time.
just the 30,000, wasn't
Then we
it?
have our.
This is what, Susan, now?
The 30,000 wasn't in
Okay. All right, guys. Julie, Michael.
Yes, sir. Here we
Wait,
go.
where's the handout? Oh, that's.
Okay, so before, I just want everyone to know what I'm planning to introduce on March 21st, so some of these things can get done. And a couple of them are not only from this temporary capital, but all related to open space and the American Rescue Plan money. So I'm just gonna read the titles out so everybody can hear what they are.
Why is?
It's cut off.
It's the same.
No, that's not cut off. Oh,
It is, but this is the same.
that's regular.
Space,
Yeah, just
ordinance.
cut
off. It's cut
All right, but
That's
you
the
don't,
original.
it's okay, you can just
Okay,
look
so
at the
what line are we
recommended.
looking at?
Okay,
How
so,
is this different from this?
Maybe the right side.
oh yeah, the ordinances are cut off, that's okay, I'll
So
talk
it's the
about
same
that.
one, basically.
It stays except the 30,000 was in there, and I put money in for,
No, 300,000, whereas drainage images are now, issues still zero, yeah. I
It's
don't-
the exact same thing.
The same thing.
except for where I'm taking the money from, but I might need that.
Okay, so what are the
Okay.
3 items?
Okay, so first of all, you are gonna need the other plan, the secondary one, yeah. What I did was, I looked at, I took into consideration all the discussions that were taking place during the council meetings. And I also spoke with the department heads, and I know that, and Michael, for what needs to be done sooner than later. So our regular capital plan will be hopefully adopted on May 23rd, but if we want to get going on roads and other items, I'd like to introduce some of this on March 21st and adopt on April 18th, the second reading. So with that being said, we're going to have to come to a decision, and we'll talk about the roads last and the culvert repairs and everything else. Just so you know, the reason why the recommended amount for the, just so you know, the 2023 DOT roads is because Andy said there's no number yet, so that's why that's a 0. So that will not be in this plan.
Is that this updated one?
That's not updated.
But I thought we had DOT.
We have some DOT that we're working on right now, that's already been budgeted in our capital plan.
Right, so this is in addition?
There's every year they come out with a new DOT.
Right.
And, yeah, grant, and this, the numbers aren't there yet, Andy, so I can't do
We are
anything.
applying for it this year.
They apply every year, yeah.
We're not.
Okay, but we don't have anything yet on that. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to also prepare, which I haven't done yet, an ordinance to take care of the roads, but we'll talk about them last. The
All right, what's
ordinance-
first?
The first thing is, and I'm gonna read to you, this is all municipal open space money. And you have to prioritize this for me, because otherwise I'm gonna introduce later. An ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly in the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $475 for the swim club, security cameras, raised flower beds, fencing, skate park, and fountains. And that's gonna be offset by the grant, that's $87,038. At the last council meeting, I heard all of you say that you were approving, or the one before that, this project.
No, I'm a vote no.
Majority.
No, the majority did vote yes.
Okay, so the majority did vote yes. And
And
if you
sorry,
would like to,
just Susan, just a question on what you're talking about. I see the dollar sign there, and the dollar sign means there was $100,000 approved in 2022. Am I reading it right?
I'm not
No,
sure.
no, that's the other skate park in the center of
Yeah,
town,
yeah.
Adam.
So,
No,
I'm not,
but that's my point. I just wanted to make sure this 400 is not using the $100,000 that was more for the Roosevelt community area. That's what I was unclear on in the budget.
so this is a new appropriation. And,
Okay, so it's completely separate.
right, the $100,000 that was approved in a prior year, we never took action on, okay? You guys approved it, but there was no ordinance to take action on that $100,000.
So it's
this
still
is the way the
available for us.
that we never moved the money, and so this is a new ordinance, so that with everybody agreed upon. So the question here is, because I don't have another opportunity to do this before the next meeting, I need to know for open space, and this is part of what's on probably the second one, that I'm just throwing these out there. Okay, that's the first one. The second one is an ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly in the County of Bergen, and I'll skip through that, appropriating $155,000 to create a multi-purpose recreation area at the old skate park. This is in Michael's capital plan. It was also in Jamie's. They both talked about it, but I took it out of the one, so in case you see it in both places, we know
It's
it
in
was a
both
duplicate.
places. Was it a typo? It's in both places.
It was,
I just want to make sure.
but I took it out of, I made it into one place.
Okay,
And this is a
perfect.
municipal open space ordinance for that. The next
Yes.
one is, an ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly to appropriate $10,000 for the Froggy Park sign and spinner. Now, $5,000 will be coming out of open space for the spinner, and about the balance of that will be from an ordinance that still has money remaining for the spinner that we will utilize, that was for installation and Froggy Park equipment. That's the first three.
Susan, we're getting all new signages in the town, so could we take out the Froggy Park sign now?
No, because your signs are for wayfinding and branding.
But it'll be
This is not a wayfinding and branding sign, this is a Froggy Park sign.
So just for whatever it's worth, if you've got the money in the budget for the sign and it's a separate conversation, this sign could be the same style as the new signs.
And not only that,
The
if
money
we don't
not-
use this money, I could put it back to open space.
Right, so what I'm saying is, we don't have to have a debate over the colors of the sign. It's perfectly reasonable that this matches the other signs, but we need to have the money in there to pay for a sign. I think that's a valid point.
Money for playground equipment.
Yeah, but I'm gonna take some money.
But
from
we
the
still need a
playground.
new sign there.
If I just may add just one quick item. There's an existing wood sign there already that's just outlived its life and
Right.
those weather elements. It would be, the idea was to replace it, but of course,
But we're doing a full replacement.
For
What?
brand, for an actual park.
Right, this is a park sign, not a
Aren't we
wayfinding
replacing all our
branding
parking?
sign.
Right, that's just, it doesn't matter, it could be any name we want to call
Right.
it. It's a sign, whatever the design is a separate discussion.
My question is, under the wayfinding package, aren't we taking all our playground park signs and switching them?
No,
I don't know
the playground. The playground park
No.
signs are not part of the wayfind.
Okay,
Thank you, Adam, that's my
okay,
question.
that's good, thanks, Adam.
Just a question.
Yes, we know.
The 155,000, who determined that? Did we have a discussion on that?
They had quotes.
No, but we didn't have a discussion
No,
with
but
the
Jamie
council.
has to come in and talk to us
If
about
you
it.
say if this body says to me, hold off on that, I'm gonna hold off, but I was trying to do all of the monies that were coming from open space together,
Then
so
you
that
have
you
to
had
have
an
Jamie talk
idea,
to
because
us.
you've said that you didn't want me to do things like in
Mhm.
piecemeal. So
Jamie-
I don't have to adopt any of these, or you don't, at any particular time. I have them ready for the 21st to be introduced. If you
Unless-
don't
unless
want me to
Jamie-
introduce some of them, we won't.
Yeah,
Jamie's on for the 14th, so we'll have the answer then.
No, she's not, on the last
Mm-mm.
one.
Yeah, she had to
That
switch
moved.
it.
Oh.
That was
You have to switch her
replaced.
then to the next meeting.
She can't
It
come,
was
she's on
Then
her
the project can't be in the
Jamie
town.
was switched.
Okay, so that's why we're here, to discuss whether you want it on or not. If,
So,
that one will be delayed.
Then you have to put it on the council.
okay, so the simple solution is,
What do you want for the
the
21st?
simple solution I would recommend is simply we do that ordinance separately,
Okay,
rather than try to go through.
okay, so the other two I can.
Wait, when you say, sorry, why that ordinance separately?
Because Jamie hasn't discussed this project or parameters, but
Plus-
anybody.
plus the
If
second
Mike
reason.
is Mike there? If Mike's there,
Yeah.
99% of that spend is actually just, and I'm gonna butcher the words, is blacktopping that space. There's no like, it's literally just blacktopping. It's more Mike than it is Jamie. If Mike can explain it.
The old skate park,
Of course, right.
you got to mill and pave, and then they're going to do a multi-use park in place. You guys have seen this concept. It's
Right, so we're
considered
just
by
for,
council
for,
already.
what is, go ahead,
Grant.
Jeff.
But we never
never
agreed and
expanded on it, no.
just, yeah,
Right.
so.
But we have the ask, the
Mhm.
space needs to be used, we put it in the budget to say, you guys should consider this and.
Mike, can
Go
we
ahead,
take
Jeff.
Can we take the fence down?
People are putting their hands up.
Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, look, the discussion side of what we're doing there, you're recommending open space, right? Open space has nothing to do directly with the capital budget.
Right.
We can do open space at any time. I think this is great to put into the discussion. Now we've discussed it, now I think we need to focus on the capital budget, because we don't need a rush ordinance for open space.
Okay, the only reason why I did this is to pull these things out.
All right, you
of
pulled
the
them
capital
out,
budget.
you pulled them out, they're out
And
of capital budget.
when you want it done, I'm
So
ready to
to
do it
be
if you're
clear,
ready.
Just to be clear, we're going to do the two of them, and the one that, for this old skate park, we do separately once we have
Okay,
clear answers.
so I can hold
Right?
off on that.
Okay.
We
That's
don't
fine.
need to even
Hold on.
discuss
Fine.
it more today.
Correct.
We don't even have to include it in the capital.
Well, it has to, when you take out of open space, it has to be part of your capital plan. And I have to do a resolution to amend, to create a temporary, so you're gonna see that on the 21st.
I thought
This
you've
isn't the end all.
I'm sorry, Susan, I thought you've always told us, like, capital can be, open space can be done anytime we want.
It can,
Whenever, and
It can, but-
I didn't know that has to be in the capital plan.
okay, let me rephrase this. I moved the funds from open space to capital. It's a capital project. So open space can be done at any time, but my understanding was that this body wanted the whole picture of what we were doing for capital.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Agreed, yes.
So I am taking certain things. You said to me, I don't want it in open space. No matter what, it's gonna end up in capital, but the question here is whether we're gonna incur debt or not.
Which column is it?
Yeah, so I prepared these to be ready, because I know that I'm trying to move things a little
Right,
more
understood.
quickly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
as resolved, do the two, the
Do
one
the
and
two, and the one will wait.
What are the two? It's the sign.
But in terms
One
of
and
the
three.
total
Yeah.
amount
Froggy
of
Park
capital,
and the
which doesn't
pool
need
club.
to be in there,
Froggy
right? So
Park
that's
sign?
correct.
Froggy Park
You
dinner
should take it
inside,
out of
Do that
this.
one?
and
That
then,
has to be discussed, or
and then
it
the
will be
pool
done.
club.
Okay,
Okay,
so I
Lauren?
did put that.
She's-
She said to add the nature center, but the nature center.
I guess,
was
I
discussed.
guess I'm just unclear why we're doing, like, why we're doing one versus another. I understand if we do all or none. I don't understand. Again,
Because
why are we doing the Froggy Park sign now versus something else tomorrow?
Easy, because everyone knows what's going on at the pool club, everyone knows what's going on at Froggy Park. No one has a clear understanding of what's happening at the skate park.
Okay, so that can wait.
Okay.
That can wait. As long as you know that's gonna be addressed. Okay, last one, ARP funds. I prepared an ordinance for March 21st. Everybody in the body agreed to this, well, not everybody, but the majority agreed to this. It's an ordinance appropriating $115,000 received from the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds Program to provide for various capital improvements. Those capital improvements will be branding, signage, and banners, including replacement of pole-mounted banners at various and priority locations throughout the borough. That's that other ordinance. So if you want these things to move forward, and the last ordinance would be the road ordinance, which I haven't prepared yet, and that would be so that you could be one of the first groups to get your roads done before the, within the Riverside Co-op, award to the
So-
contractors.
So because Michael's still here, and I would love for him not to have to do this for the next 2 hours, can he go through his capital requests?
Yeah, we're gonna do his first, of course.
Yeah.
But
I mean, and 90% of it is his anyway, but, but,
So
but,
it needs to be part of the
but
next
I was,
meeting.
I was gonna say, as far as the temporary, the 1.4,
Follow-up question on
we can still put in the 1.4 and then drop it, if we want.
Well, it's gonna be 1.645 now. That's been updated by Andy to include the Sisson Terrace.
We could
for
trade a
Mark
road
Tony.
out.
So I have to change this, but there's something else I should add.
Yes.
The budget is presently understated for the down payment in the capital plan.
What does that mean?
So meaning, you have to put down 5% of the projects. I budgeted 3.5 million in capital. That budget means that 175,000 needs to be our down payment, and that's what I put into the plan. Now, does that not mean that I can't reappropriate some existing projects? I can. Basically, we should really make sure I allocated a few $100,000 from a previous ordinance. I think, Vanu, you have it on your first sheet. 2007, was it?
Yeah, 2007.
So I'm gonna take money from that. That brings down our budget to $1 million. I'm gonna see if I could take other money to accommodate the road program. But that'll be on an ordinance in the next, meeting.
just for roads.
First, wait, hold on, Dan, then Jeff.
So just to build off your ARP, the 150.
Yeah.
The 150. Can we get an update?
115.
115.
Yeah.
Remember I took the worksheet from you at the meeting, and I was just skimming through all the things.
Yes.
Can we get an updated list of completed ordinance,
Yes.
and then the amount, blah, blah, blah? That way we can keep track of where we're at, that whole
There's
process.
3 ordinances so far, one
Right,
for
but
290.
I would like to see that item 6 was in ordinance 20 for you, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
Blah, 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 for this amount.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Question, if I
Then
may,
Jeff.
it's a procurement question for the sign, so is that the 115 does that include, we would have to put together bid specs?
Yes, you're gonna have to do a bid, go out to bid on that. So,
Yeah, but I'm saying, does those fees include, because I think that's just for the estimated cost of the sign, so does the amount we're allocating include professional fees for?
No, you would have to figure out what the professional fees would be.
What are the professional fees for what?
Jimmy, question from Adam.
Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
What are the professional fees for what, for the signs? The signs include installation and everything. Oh, sorry, the estimate included installation and everything, and production.
Yeah, but you have to make the actual bid specifications because of the price point of what the signs are estimated to be, the cost of them. I mean, I'm not sure, there might be on contract, so there might be someone on contract, which would be the easiest way to do this, but if there isn't someone on contract that we like, you have to retain someone to put together the bid specs.
Well, what's our engineer supposed to be doing, the one that we hired?
Not that.
No, so we need our engineer then, or somebody. It needs to go out to bid, and we have other monies, $50,000 in other ordinance, 2203, to compensate some of the additional fees.
Fair enough, okay.
But not for engineering. We have
So
to
then-
figure that out.
So then would we
I
have,
could change this, but we have to find out what it is.
so then
before
how are
the
we
21st.
anticipating to pay for the professional fees then?
You have to get a quote, you have to figure out who's gonna do it.
So the people who did the design, aren't they engineers?
They're not engineers.
What are they?
They're an advertising
I'm sorry, what
company.
what kind of engineers, I'm gonna sound really stupid. What kind of
Engineers
engineers
for
do
design?
you need to install a
No,
sign?
I don't know if we need an engineer for the sign.
This is getting to my question. Let's ask the sign company whether they can do the specs or not.
They wouldn't bid on it then, they wouldn't be.
Yeah, so there
Yeah,
is.
but again,
we
it's
know
a sign.
a state contract we might be able to use for this. We're looking into it in my department. I just have to see if they could do everything. This may be under state contract where you don't have to go out to bid, for signs and branding and all this. But I have to confirm that yet.
Okay, all right, because we don't need engineers to.
No, I don't think
Please,
we
my
need
God.
engineers.
I would
We,
press.
I think we found a company that may be able to do what we need here that is under state contract.
Okay.
Okay, so,
more information.
well, I'll
will
look
come on
into it. You're welcome.
All right, what I was gonna ask on the roads, two questions. So just let me get the questions out and then you can answer both. I know we have that ordinance 2007, which there was money left. Going back, are there any other ordinances with funds left that we have not spent? That's number one. Number two, we've been doing microsurfacing. Where does that fall? Under which budgetary item would that be?
So there is money left in some of our ordinances. They are getting smaller and smaller, and since I've been here, I cleaned up and closed out all the ordinances. I think I'm up to, from 1999 to about 2015, there's some money left for the compactor, which we're gonna have to supplement. And then we're up to about 2017, I believe, it might not be that year. Once, what I have to do is cancel projects. I can reappropriate some of the funds. It's frowned upon. They'd rather you cancel, pay down debt, or do some other things. Depends on how if we borrowed or not on some of these things, which we borrowed almost. We just bonded up to, I believe, 2020. When you bond, you should have all this money spent. So we have to spend it or cancel it. So now I could give you the amounts, if you'd like to see that, of what is left, but we really should have a separate meeting on whether we're closing projects, whether we're going to be spending the money, whether we're going to use it somewhere else. So there may be some funds, and those funds I want to use to offset some of this road stuff, to bring this number down maybe even lower than the 1,060,000.
Okay, and then, so the second part of this has to do with microsurfacing.
There's money in the budget for microservices.
So we don't need it here.
No,
So we didn't spend it in the past.
we did not. And I
Okay, you got one more task.
250,000. So
Was it
20.
250? I think it was 250.
In general, it was
Yeah.
250. But
No, I have to look. We might
and that's
spend
how much
something
we've put in there.
yes.
But 2007, how much are we talking?
375.
And others maybe you don't know yet.
I don't want to commit to that because I have to talk to bond counsel about reappropriating funds.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There may be other projects that we could offset with funds that are going to be reappropriated.
Can I ask about
Or
curb
could be.
repair in the road?
Oh my God.
So how does somebody get curb repair?
They call the DPW and express their complaint, and then we go out there and we figure out the footage, and we keep a running list of all the addresses and the footage that's needed. And we have to go out to, we tried to do it last year under the Riverside Co-op and ran out of time. So that's how we're gonna look at it this year, so we don't have to go out to bid. Again, cost more money in engineering fees, et cetera. So I have a running list.
Unless they're blacktop repairs, then we do those ourselves.
Yeah, roll curb we do
Residents
ourselves.
just contacts us,
Okay.
Yeah, those are concrete curbs.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
So in terms of grants, I sent to Jimmy and copied Susan on SCBA grants. Seem like they're available.
We get some of it each year for the fire.
No, that we don't.
Breathing
We don't.
apparatus?
No, yeah, but I think we may have gotten it last year, right? The SCBA.
I don't think so.
Or
For the breathing apparatus from
no, we haven't
Express
gotten
office.
it. Right, we haven't
Yeah.
gotten it.
But those are available now. Last time you just told us about those, we talked about this.
The fire.
We're working on that.
Yep.
The fire
Life-saving
grant.
apparatuses, correct.
Right, we have
The
plans
breathing
for
for
that.
fire.
Matter of fact, just because you brought it up, on Monday, we have is it Monday, we have the conference call about Emma's office about grants. That's a whole other conversation.
Okay, can we go to the trucks, because Michael's very patient.
Yeah, let's go, Michael, and the budget, because we've got 26 minutes left.
Okay.
Then we're all free.
So I'm gonna go to his narrative for capital plan. because we have 5, correct me if I'm wrong, we have 5 trucks in here.
Took them out. Tell them what you took out.
What do you take out, what's in? Because I'm trying to look at
Look
that.
at the,
I know, I have it, look, I even have them highlighted.
if you go in his row, you'll see what he
Do you
took
have
out.
the updated?
Yeah.
But
Because
I know,
I have my original asks, I don't have what actually got submitted to council.
Okay.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
Look what I did, see, I even made it like nice and Susan's like, see it?
Good.
Like, a
So,
little folding.
I mean, here's yours.
Yours yesterday?
Yeah. You hang on.
Happy birthday.
Public Works.
Excellent. Want something too? You know, wiser.
I thought we emptied that from COVID.
No, Susan put
So
money
you
back.
share your birthday.
And what?
In the
FEMA money that came back, the money come back. from
Susan?
FEMA?
Yeah, for
You
Isaiah.
had birthday yesterday?
Okay,
Thank you.
what's the
Both
question?
the same day.
What's the question?
Not
The trucks
Go
that
ahead,
he took
trucks,
out.
what do you want? What do you want to hear?
So, well,
The
obviously you
first woman
asked
to
for
be
them.
Prime Minister of
I
Canada.
see what's
shares your
recommended
birthday.
versus what's there, so I'm just gonna go through. You have, 2 different, Packer trucks. You have a Crown, is that a Crown Vic?
Well, there's a Mason dump truck first.
There's a
Yes,
dump
one
truck,
of
a top kick.
The zeros.
Yeah, there's the
Then
dump
you
truck,
said-
the top kick.
So
So
you
just
can
talk
do
to
that.
us and tell us what's priority, what's delay.
Public Works, and then you go down there. And you'll see that one you're not getting, you
Right.
talk, okay?
Right, so there
Wanna
were
hear
4
what you guys
trucks
talked
in
about.
here and 2 he
No,
took out.
five.
Yeah, well, we talked
Right,
among
so,
you.
so the
Yeah.
Mason dump we left in, all right, that's, again, that's, mid-sized truck, it's not a huge truck.
Okay.
Larger than a pickup, smaller than a large dump, used daily,
Of course.
yeah.
And the top kick I saw take out, but I thought that was your daily one too.
Well,
Top kick 68?
I gotta
I
write
thought that was
down.
like your bread and butter one.
That's,
You're ahead of schedule on. About 2 years ago.
Wait, isn't that still?
Yes,
Packers.
we're
I mean,
like,
personally,
Because one of the Packers out, and the other
One of
one
the
in.
Packers is
Tell
out,
them
one
that
is.
that.
So,
Go in
all right.
order.
yeah,
sorry,
all right,
sorry,
all right,
sorry,
so,
sorry,
yeah.
sorry, go in order. Okay.
So you got the Mason dump, we know where that is.
That's in.
Now, what is that and why is it necessary?
We use them every day. It can be used for roads, parks, trees, whatever, every
Which
day.
truck are you talking about?
And,
That's a
The Mason dump.
and this is
What's the Packer
replacing,
truck?
That'll be replacing probably, 6.5, which is, used in the roads on a daily basis. It's like a mini rack truck
mhm.
that asphalt tools, equipment, goes out every day.
So
patching roads.
that truck is
That truck will be
disappearing.
going away,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, any of these things that are gonna be replaced, something is going in its place.
No, because some of
We
them
don't have
say
room to keep
replace.
everything
Some of
anymore.
them say replace, that one doesn't.
So
Oh,
I'm
it doesn't?
curious, so here, my question is, why didn't we replace the 2 oldest Packer trucks versus the other stuff?
One is
They've been
gonna-
taken out year after year after year. These are not new asks. All these trucks have been, you guys have seen them before.
87 and 88.
Right, so
So,
one,
is there better vehicles than the Packer truck that you like using, or you like the Packer,
We need the Packer trucks. Packer trucks go out, they recycle.
okay?
We use them for the commercial recycling. They do leaves, they plow snow.
I would keep those in, and I would get rid of the top kick and the other one, the little guys.
You have to talk to him.
Well,
I don't know what the
that
trucks
wasn't his
do.
priorities though.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Well, that's,
We asked
this is
Michael
the
what he
priority,
needed.
right?
Again,
There's
it's
a
the
system of,
inventory
you wanna
question
replace
that
every
keeps
10
bringing.
to 12 years, you wanna put trucks in the rotation so that they roll out. And obviously, financial restraints say, we gotta take things out. So I've been tasked with, what do you really, really need right now? This is what I really need. There's zeros where there's zeros. I need a Packer truck first and foremost.
Okay, right, what, you're getting rid of the 1987.
Believe I'm getting rid of the 1988 first.
That's worse shape.
It's in worse shape, yeah. Believe it or not. Mac made a better truck than GMC.
Can we talk about now it says, the roll-off boxes, did you throw those out, Susan?
Replace roll-off boxes, 40, no, that's still in there.
That's
No,
40?
it's-
No, I think, is that the 40?
That's 40.
So what's the one right above it? I'm sorry, the pickup truck.
That's for fire.
That's, yeah, that's
Oh,
not
I'm
me.
sorry, that's fire, that's where I'm getting confused.
Just,
Because that's what I did to my
yeah,
sheet.
top kick number 68 is still limping along, which is why that was, you know, yeah, we spent some money on it, but, you know, it's still limping along. That's why that was left in there.
I mean, my fear on the Packer trucks is the maintenance cost on those. Can you talk to me about how much maintenance is going into those? I mean, they're from 1987. Almost as old
Those,
as me.
the ones those are primarily leaf trucks, those two, the 87 and the 88. We have other Packer trucks that are coming up for replacement. So we replace that, we can use it for recycling.
Okay.
It'll take the place of one of our getting tired recycling
So
trucks,
we're not
and that
putting-
will become a spare.
We're not putting a lot of money maintenance-wise into those. That's my
Into these
question.
right now, no. No, the one truck I didn't even send out on the road this year because I can't make somebody drive it. It's unsafe.
Because you can't what?
I can't make somebody drive it.
Right, because it's not safe.
It's a safety
Right,
issue.
so the maintenance cost is zero because we're not using it.
But also, we're storing it, so
That's
let's get
the
rid of
88.
it. Why don't we just sell it off then, at this point?
Well, we don't sell them until
He gets a
something
new one.
replaces it. Because
Right.
God forbid, everything else broke.
Right.
I would ask somebody if they
Or
could
you need
drive it.
parts or whatever.
I wouldn't tell them they had to, but,
Well,
so,
so my question for the council is, do we want to replace the two Packers now?
But that's not what he's recommending.
Yeah. I'm taking the recommendations of our professional.
Drivable though.
You don't want to
Right.
add to the capital
Right.
plan right
Right,
now.
exactly.
You want to try to keep it the way.
So you're only looking for two,
at
right?
this point, the Mason
Two
dump,
vehicles.
yes, the Mason dump
And
and the
Packer
Packer.
And if I may highlight, Susan and I met, like as was mentioned, we met with all the departments and asked what could be the first. So this truly is an already,
Cut down.
yeah, again, that's your due diligence, but, you know, we want to share what we've done already with our efforts.
I know.
And just to go back, and I appreciate that you're saying we should do more, is that, again, you've seen these all before, and they're being deferred yet again.
Mhm.
Some of these trucks have been in this budget since before I was here. So, and right now, a Packer truck, you'd be lucky to get in 2 years. You'd be lucky. They're saying 2 to 4 years for any kind of specialized equipment moving forward.
Anything you need for the mechanic other than these smaller things? Because I feel like the mechanic department.
Well, the 50,000 for the compactor, the additional cost, what is?
There was an old ordinance, this is one of the ones that Susan's been working on.
Right.
She's been trying to get me to commit to it, I can't find a vendor to
Mhm.
commit to it. But the original ordinance had $139,000 for a new compactor at the recycling center. That's not enough to cover the cost of the compactor anymore.
Okay.
Then there's installation costs after the cost of the compactor. So that supplemental ordinance will take care of the extra cost of the unit.
The extra 50.
And, yes, and the additional electricians, welding, materials, because we have to make a chute for it to dump into. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes into that, but that is going to supplement the original $139,000 that's been sitting there since 2015.
So that just has to be a separate ordinance, can't be? So whenever we do something and we don't have enough money, and it's already been, in an ordinance, we have to supplement it.
Mhm.
But if we don't get this done this year, I have to cancel that project.
Right.
Because the bond council and the auditors are telling me that has to happen. So,
Why did we only budget $375 for the salt mill? Because we have 100 and something.
There's
There's 125 there, yeah.
And then I see microsurfing on the bottom is a zero here.
right, 'cause
Right,
we have
that's
money
what I
from
just asked
previous
about.
ordinance.
Yeah, okay,
We have money from old
got it.
prior.
Um,
Do you remember the number off the top of your head?
250.
Well, that might have been appropriate, but I have to see what was used.
Right.
Okay, so I could get it. I'll get it for the next meeting. What's left?
Public Works, what else?
Sewer camera,
Yeah.
I would like to.
The 110,000.
Yeah, we have a sewer camera now, it's, I believe, 11 years old, maybe 12 years old,
Okay.
that they're having problems getting parts for now. Pressurized unit goes underwater at times, you know, works in the sewers. But, we really need to upgrade that, because whenever ours breaks down, we have to drive it down to the manufacturer, they try and fix it, they're running out of parts, basically. Sooner or later, they're not gonna be able to fix it, probably sooner than later. So that's one I would say we really wanna do. We have thousands of feet of sewer line that needs to be cambered every year,
Okay.
and hitting the next town, it's getting harder and harder to do.
You don't have thousands of feet, you have miles of feet.
Yeah.
Miles of feet.
I'm amazed how many feet we have on private property. It boggles my mind. I don't know when they built it.
I just want to double check, so the playground stuff, the playground ordering is here, not in recreation? The new piece of equipment we have and installation.
I put it under parks, because really there's an overlap sometimes between recreation and DPW. So I have my own way of accounting for that.
So in here, there's no, landscaping, landscaping budget, I do this every year for beautification for the town. Will be planting anything?
Ad hoc.
So.
Ad hoc, my parks guys do, I get requests from residents, council, and we try and make it, the COVID Memorial is one that, I can point to right away. We did that in-house.
We were talking about beautification a couple years ago of Roosevelt, around the pond, and making sure that, remember, everything got cut around the pond in Roosevelt? It got all that stuff. And we never did a landscaping plan to reestablish that area, that's the center of our town.
That's kind of not a political football, but basically it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Some people want the entire thing encircled the way it used to be, because that cuts down on the bees population. But at the same time, why have a pond if you can't walk up to it and admire it and maybe throw a line?
That's a whole separate, we can put that on a council agenda to discuss it.
I'm just saying, if it's not budgeted, I never get to do it, which I've asked for a couple of years.
Right.
I never get it in the budget.
Well, we can't budget it because we don't know what any of it means, but Omar is adding it right now, the next council meeting.
I'm not saying.
As to be considered. It's a very valid, 100% valid question.
So just, I was hoping that this idea of the electric vehicles, has that been, considered regarding this discussion, or any of these things being made as electric vehicles?
Whoever needs a new vehicle should be considering an electric vehicle.
Yeah, I think,
can we confirm, can we confirm the fire prevention that I see in the budget, the police utility vehicle? I would actually even challenge us for the senior bus to, those three we should see a quote for EV before making a decision. Sorry, and the buildings as well.
The senior bus, by the way, is only 60. Why is there 120 in here?
Yeah, well,
No,
85,
we lowered it.
but why is it 85?
Because
It should be
outfitted with the wheelchairs.
No, but even
Hold on
then.
a second, before we get on to the senior bus, are we done with Michael?
Oh, yeah, why are we jumping around?
Sorry.
So it was just the EV issue.
Right. I think when we do bidding for all of our vehicles, we should be looking at.
We should first
all
look.
of them, correct.
For DPW, unfortunately, I have a friend in construction who bought a Ford Lightning so it'll do 300 miles on your daily drive, like a commuter, sure. You put weight in the back, the battery doesn't last hours.
So I'll edit what I say, so when it's appropriate, right? Because you're right.
Just wait for the state to figure this problem out.
But for cars, for inspections and stuff like that,
right.
That could all be EV, correct.
You got to put way more because it's counterproductive.
Kicks in.
You move one thing from one side of town to the other, and then you charge your car.
You're not responsible.
Right.
So, Mayor, if I could add to this about the Capitol.
Yes.
So, what the governing body is going to do, first to maintain critical services, but one of the goals is to upgrade park facilities, which includes the installation of the playground equipment, increased mobilization, lighting and beautification, and allocated space for both passive and active recreational uses.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big grant that you're going for.
Here, I saw table.
Green initiatives is another goal, including the purchase of electric vehicles, and as the mayor said, where appropriate. The continuation of the road pavement management plan to identify and prioritize roads for paving based on conditions, determining and implementing the uses for the coronavirus state and local recovery funds, such as projects related to the downtown revitalization, and expanding our communications with the public via the borough's website and other media forums, And of course, all at the same time of continuing our fiscal responsibility by monitoring spending, decreasing operating costs, streamlining and increasing efficiencies while enhancing technologies, including cybersecurity measures and training.
Yes, Dan?
Nobody responds, this is just a note for Susan.
Right.
Site supervisor and rec.
I always said that. I brought that up a couple times,
No,
but
it
Mike,
should be under Jamie.
Mike,
It should be under Jamie.
and I think both Mike and Jamie thought it belongs in recreation, but I think that salary, you called site supervisor. I don't know if that's the right title for the pay,
It should be field maintenance.
because when you look at that, nobody's applying for the job.
That was just a side.
Right, it's a separate
Yeah,
issue, right.
yeah,
The money's
separate
the
thing.
same regardless of where they're
Right,
working on.
But I
maybe a
would
different
say-
title.
That was the point.
I
needs
will
to be
say,
looked
and this
at.
is important, in the last year, we've had a site supervisor out, and we haven't filled a vacancy in the site supervisor. And Mike and his crew have taken over on overtime, the fields, the lining, the fixing, the cutting, the grass. I mean, it's just.
Right, well, we're recruiting, Jimmy, we're searching for a site supervisor, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, not getting many bites, but yeah.
Okay, all right. I understood.
And
All
let's
right.
be clear, we're never gonna find a site supervisor at the current rate. Jamie has shared with everybody the equivalent, salaries. You're never gonna get anybody. So if the strategy is not to fill the position, the current budgeting process set us up nicely.
Finding some-
I think
Either change
it's
the
like
title.
waste of time.
Increase the money.
No, it's full-time.
It's a
The
full-time
vacancy
position.
is a part-time.
No, it's not.
It's not,
There's
it's a
two
full-time
vacancies.
job.
Yeah, there's two vacancies. One's a full-time, one's a part-time. You have one and one that are both vacant
Right.
right now.
Yeah.
So you have to change the title or increase the money.
Let's save it for the next
Title.
rec.
Right, okay, so, Michael,
But I'm
you're
saying,
done?
yeah, can we talk about overtime, just for 2 seconds, overtime and temp and seasonal workers here?
Not really, because we've got 10 minutes left on capital and we're all leaving. So we can do that the next meeting. So do
Are
we
you
have
guys
any other
doing
capital
that?
questions?
That's fine.
I leave those in there. Simply,
No,
it would-
leave, but I'm saying, does it need to be more?
No, it's just,
Capital
it's very hard to
DPW
fill
or
those
capital
positions.
period?
And,
That's what I'm
and,
saying.
and
We haven't
if
done
push comes to
the
shove,
I know.
that's what's my salary,
Yep.
no wages, and cover the.
Everyone, we can,
I wanna make sure it's
Pick
enough,
up.
is really what I'm asking.
Yeah, we're,
Because
yeah,
I think
I would
it's
say
low.
we need
yeah,
one
no,
more
we're good for
meeting
that for
That's
now.
in between the
Okay,
two.
everything else is a yes.
All right.
Jeff, got the next question.
Oh, yeah, let's go to.
Hold on, Jeff.
Not for you.
Oh,
Are we doing the court officer furniture, the
What?
QVAC
What are we
stuff and all
doing?
Yeah,
that?
so Jeff, go,
No,
he's got his question.
So mine isn't with DPW, but it's the replace ambulance 42, which I know needs replacement, but are we looking, I know we talked about looking for a grant to offset some of that.
We applied for one.
We applied.
Yep,
And
we'll
also,
know, I think the award in April.
if they auction off or sell off the current vehicle they're looking to replace, can that be used then to offset the cost of this, or that can't come into capital if they sell it?
You still have to budget for the whole amount, right?
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying, can that money, where does
Goes
that
into
money end up?
surplus.
No.
Can we use it to pay down debt to sell that vehicle?
Well,
It just goes into surplus. It goes into
Okay.
yeah, and then
miscellaneous
also
revenue
the
not
ones where
anticipated.
by the time we're gonna pay for that ambulance, we're not gonna get it in here in less than 18 months.
Right, no, I know.
Yeah, so that's, that's a difficulty with that.
Hopefully they get the grant.
Yeah.
Okay, and the grant, I forget, is the grant they're applying for a matching grant or a grant for the whole?
I don't think it's a matching.
So it'd be a grant that potentially could cover the cost?
Yeah, I don't know how, yeah. I don't know.
Potentially.
Yeah, correct.
That's all. All right.
I think it was a max of 50,000.
Potential's a good place to start, though.
So we'll know
A
when
ma-
we get
I
the
thought the
grant
max was higher.
before we have to
I don't
introduce.
recall some, I'll try and poke and look.
I thought it was higher for a municipality of our size and this need. Yeah, all right.
So you can go home now.
That was my question.
So I'm planning to introduce the budget for all the roads, the culvert repairs, the culvert by the dog park, and the curb repair for the next meeting.
Do we wanna?
So everybody knows.
So what is it?
Susan,
What is it? Road?
Susan, what's the 50,000 for the nature center? I just didn't know what that was.
That's, every year we allot something to the Nature Center to offset their costs. And the last year was the first year that, since I've been here, that we took it out of open space. And that would be the plan as well. But when we meet with the Nature Center, the governing body can decide for sure. But my recommendation would be to take it out of open space this year and not put it in our operating budget. The allocation.
Yeah.
Why is it under
in
capital?
operating for 30 years.
Use open space again.
Why is it under temporary capital, actually?
Well, no, we're not putting it in, I can do it. I can make the ordinance for next meeting.
Manu has a question about
We
why
didn't
it's
meet
under
with them
capital.
yet.
Yeah, why is this one under
It
temporary
should say
capital?
0.
No, but why is it shown on the
Oh,
temporary?
it says, sorry,
capital?
yeah. It's on the temporary
Where is
capital
it?
budget, and you have it in open space.
Center.
And then it goes to
You want
open.
it-
No, no,
Oh.
but why is it even on the spreadsheet at
There's
all?
nowhere to go.
It should, but.
Well, I didn't do it yet. All the ordinance I did, that was a simple ordinance. I could do that for next meeting.
also?
I'm gonna just put it in from open space, but it has to be part of the capital plan.
But the question, it has to be, what we give them has to be from, on the capital?
Everything that we take,
Or is this
if it's a
from the
little
grant?
tiny amount, I could charge right to open space. But I like to be consistent, because that's one of the rules of accounting. So what I do is, because the bigger projects always go from open space funding, and we move the money into capital, it becomes a capital project. This would be, it depends on what they're using the money from, but the source is gonna be open space.
The open space part is fine.
If they
I'm
do a
saying,
project
but why
with
does
the
it
money-
have to go into capital then?
We have to find out. That's why I didn't do it yet, because we didn't meet with Nature Center yet. I just put it here, and I didn't do the ordinance yet.
So when they came to us for that, the grant, where did that?
It just came from open space.
Right.
That's
so,
a totally separate
but
thing.
that's totally separate. Is that what this is talking about, or?
No, this is
No.
a yearly.
This
These are
this
yearly
may be capital, it may not. I just put it there just to put it
As a
placeholder.
That
Yeah.
matching grant is a separate and distinct thing.
But it's
from
just gonna
what-
come out of
No, I get that. My point was, but that's more of a capital, of a capital nature, so that makes sense if it was in here.
Okay.
And then we're taking it,
Depends on if they're gonna do capital projects or not. I don't know yet.
But I don't think they used
I
that
asked her,
50,000 for
I
that,
asked her
for the capital
to
project.
supply the borough with a narrative prior to her meeting.
Okay, good. Who's got another question on capital?
Thank you, Susan, for putting this all together so clearly.
Thank you.
Thank you, you're welcome.
And so what's going to be on the ordinance?
So there's gonna be 2 of the 3
Right.
municipal open space ordinances. I'm not gonna do anything with Nature Center yet until we talk to them, because you may change the 50,000 amount, or want it to just, not come out of, be a capital project. It might be used for their operating costs, okay? There's gonna be another ordinance in addition to the 2, that I had said from open space. 1 for the ARP funds, and then there'll be another ordinance to address the roads. And there may be an additional ordinance if I reappropriate funds for the roads. So there's gonna be quite a few ordinances at the next meeting.
What I mean is the temporary capital ordinance. What is that going to include from here? You said it already, but
Okay.
I wanted you to repeat it.
What it's gonna include from here is the road resurfacing townwide, the culvert repairs and cleaning, the culvert by the dog park, the curb repair at various locations. And then Michael took out the various drainage.
Okay, so the computer equipment,
Okay. Oh, yes, the computer equipment will be on this.
will also be on this?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
And why does that have to be on this? I mean, we can't put it on
Because
the
we have
regular capital?
some issues with our computers right now. I actually have one that's blinking constantly that we replaced the monitor.
Now we're actually swapping.
Yeah, swapping from different places.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine, I just want to understand why.
Oh, thank you for reminding me about that one.
And the DOT roads, when we find out, that'll go into?
Not in this one. We don't have a number. They said we're not gonna get it until the end of the year.
All right, until the end of it.
And then what I'd have to do is do another
Until,
plan, or I
until the
could
end
do,
of 2023?
that's what he said.
So then why?
But it could
Yeah, I
come
know.
in, but then I have to address that.
Right.
And, oh, I have to add one thing before the 1 minute comes. This is important. If I could let everybody know.
Hold on.
Everybody to
Go
know,
ahead, finish.
there's gonna be 3 items in this budget that we're gonna have to look at the end. One is gonna be our surplus and what we're gonna anticipate. When I did the overview, I don't know what our surplus is. I left it flat. Hopefully it comes in, that's 50% of it or less, okay? And that number we will, may be determined to increase later if our surplus is good. They're doing our financial statements next week. The second thing is contingent upon this capital plan, we may have to up the capital improvement fund after we all meet, and that will change the numbers.
Down payment.
Yeah, and then I did account for any contractual obligations in this year because we're gonna be in negotiations with the police department. As long as that isn't crazy, we should be okay with that.
What was your,
And our appeals hopefully are down and things like that, because we had to replenish our reserve.
Right.
So there's a few things that will be possibly changed
cushion she left?
in this budget, so we have to be conscious of that.
What was the cushion you left for the PBA?
You know what, it's better since we're not in negotiations that we're not,
To wait.
that number.
Yeah.
Not talk about.
All right, Jimmy, you have one
You know
final comment?
I'm sorry,
Sure.
before we get to Jimmy, when we get the police in here, can you actually print the paperwork? I want to see budget from 2018.
I have the budget numbers.
Because it's double.
Yeah, you would have it in your office, right?
Yeah, I just want to see a quick thing, it is almost double.
I don't know off the top of my head, I couldn't.
Went from a young crew to an old crew.
Sorry, just a quick question, and maybe more for Susan, with the updated roads list, I just want to make sure, how we reflect that in here at this.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at the 1.6 million. I'm gonna look for money in our existing capital plan, and hopefully I can do something to accommodate that number.
Thank you, I just want to make sure on my end,
All right, perfect. Can I get a motion to close?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you,
All
everybody.
right, thank you.